Am I the asshole here for snapping at my wife and calling her crazy because she wants me to take a paternity test for my nephew? So my wife and I have been married for 10 years and together for 14. We are child-free. I also have a nephew who is currently 13. And I'm not gonna lie, he looks a lot like me and has a lot of the same facial features as me. I am really proud of him and we have a close bond. I've played a father-like role in his life since he was a kid. He has a deadbeat father, and my sister divorced him long ago. A couple of my family members have commented on how my nephew looks a lot like me, and while I initially thought that it was wholesome, my wife for some reason became very insecure and started getting doubts. She was questioning why I needed to play such a prominent role in my nephew's life, why my nephew had autism, etc. Why he has autism? Are you implying that OP gave the child autism because it's his son? Genuinely, what is wrong with your wife? That's a disgusting insinuation to make. The insinuation just became weird and made me uncomfortable. I do agree that my sister has played some part of my wife's insecurities because of her dry humor. During family gatherings, my sister jokes a lot about how wholesome it is that her son looks like me and that she couldn't be happier. It's obviously a joke, but I spoke to my sister and asked if she could tone it down a bit because it was making my wife a bit crazy. However, last night, my wife asked if I could take a paternity test just for her peace of mind. That's when I finally snapped and called her crazy and that marrying her was the biggest mistake of my life. I did immediately regret saying it because I meant none of it. My wife is the love of my life, but my wife got quiet and started crying shortly after, and I had to console her. Was I the asshole? Beginning Lemon 4607 says, "Your wife's new homework is Punnett squares." Username Zoltaken69 says, "For real. My nephew looks exactly like me, and I never even considered this happening. I'm not married, but if I had a wife that was like, prove to me you didn't bang your sister, I'd be mortified. Maybe unrecoverably so." Beach in Life 1 says, "Sorry, but someone accuses me of sleeping with my sibling. I'm gonna say some kind of something to them. It won't be pretty. She doesn't get to cry and act like she did nothing wrong. Not the asshole, and love of your life or not, your wife thinks you slept with your sister. How do you come back from that? An accusation of ordinary cheating is bad enough for a marriage and can definitely justify some not so nice words. Throw incest into the mix, and yeah, OP's wife is definitely in the wrong here. She needs to pull her head out of her ass and apologize. Then probably seek therapy." Harvard Diplomat says, "She thinks you had a baby with your own sister? Not your brother's wife or anything, but your own sister. No, that is crazy. My oldest niece is a miniature version of me, looks and attitude. I have never once been accused of incest by my brother. OP, your wife is on some other level of insecure. You are not the asshole at all. She needs therapy. It's genetics, and sometimes a niece or nephew can look just like that aunt or uncle. Like it's crazy to insinuate incest because he looks like his uncle. Does she not understand they are siblings and have similar genetics?" She has lost her goddamn mind, accusing OP of incest and cheating like, I don't know, man. Her crying too and you having to console her after she said that shit? Absolutely not. How about she gets on her knees and begs for forgiveness? That's disgusting. No sympathy for her whatsoever. You're not the asshole, OP. And now, onto the update. Hey everyone, quick update. The gist of it is that I've agreed to take the test, but under certain conditions. I understand my wife is being paranoid and delusional, but I wanted to take the test just to ease whatever irrational fears she has. Sometimes these fears have no logic, and I too have had some irrational fears before, and there was no logic in them. I spoke to my sister about it today, and she was obviously pretty angry at my wife. However, my sister and I discussed it at length, and she agreed to the test under certain conditions. I spoke to my wife after, and told her that I would take the test under some conditions. My wife was very happy that I had agreed to take the test, and I then told her the conditions. The first condition being that she had to stop these insinuations immediately. My wife immediately agreed to it. The second condition being that there were going to be no more arguments on me spending time with my sister and nephew. My wife and I have had some arguments over the years where she asks why I spend so much time at their house. My wife agreed to the condition, although she took some time to think about it. The third and final condition was that I had liberty to go on vacations with my sister and my nephew without my wife being there. I told my wife up front that my sister doesn't want her to come on these vacations anymore. My wife was a bit more hesitant on this, but she ultimately agreed to it. That's probably my final update. Thanks everyone for the advice. J7488 says, honestly, if I agreed to take the paternity test, the results will come with divorce papers. Hella Shell says, I thought it was going to be under the condition that she got a psych doctor immediately. This will clearly resolve everything. Sarcasm. I give her 1 month before she claims you lied about the results, or it's a false negative. The thing is, the test is going to show they're genetically linked because he is the kid's uncle, and that alone might be enough for her to be convinced that he is the father, even when the percentages don't line up. This isn't a mentally stable person that he's dealing with. Therapy should have been one of the conditions. Kiki Jane says, I have to be honest that I can't believe he even wants to be with his wife anymore. I don't care how much he loves her, I love my husband dearly, but if he ever did what she is doing now, I would instantly be over him. Like, for real. It is disgusting, ridiculous, and just makes her look incredibly stupid on top of it. I'd be livid. Agoraphobe961 says, lol dude, it's not gonna matter what the test says. Your wife has an irrational delusion in her head and will go through whatever mental gymnastics she needs to justify it. The test is not going to help. If anything, it's going to get worse, especially based on the conditions that you set. OP says, I told my sister this, but if it doesn't work, I'm going to look into divorce. OK Finger says, save the money for the DNA test and just spend it on the lawyers. Your wife thinks that you are incestual, and on top of that, you don't practice safe incest. I don't know how you move past that. Yeah, given the conditions here, I absolutely condone immediate divorce. The wife does not deserve to have these delusions humoured. She does not deserve any ounce of empathy for OP for her grand delusions of incest leading to an incest baby. Disgusting. No, we should not be giving people like this the time of day, because giving them any amount of space, any leeway, you open the door for them, you give them centimeters of space, right? They will take kilometers from you. And they will justify their grand delusions in that you allowed them to start the process of investigating their delusions. So you were enabling them and you agreed with them. Don't waste your time. Divorce these people and run. I'm suspicious of my wife and my friend's behavior. I want to check her phone. Am I the asshole here? My wife, 30 female, and I, 32 male, just returned from a long weekend camping trip with 2 other couples, friends we've known for years. We had a great time, but something happened the morning we left that I can't shake. We were all packing up, getting ready to head back home. I was loading our car when I looked up and saw my wife and my friend. They were at the campsite, several feet away. She was bent over to pick something up, and in that split second, I saw him reach out and squeeze her hip, sliding his hand down to her ass. My wife quickly pushed his hand away, but she didn't look upset. She was smiling at him, almost playfully. It all happened so fast, maybe a second or two, but it felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I glanced around, but no one else seemed to have seen it. His wife was busy packing up their car, and the other couple was further away chatting about the ride back. The drive home was quiet. My wife tried making conversation, but I couldn't focus. My mind kept replaying that scene over and over. When she asked why I was so quiet, I lied and said that I was just thinking about work. But the truth is, I was in shock. I didn't want to bring it up. If I mentioned it, she might tell me that I was imagining things, that I was being ridiculous. The rest of the day, I felt like I was just moving on autopilot. I barely slept last night and can hardly focus at work today. My mind keeps racing, questioning every detail. Aside from what I saw, the rest of the trip was great and nothing seemed out of place. A part of me is wondering if I read the whole situation wrong, but the look on her face, that smile, it was too friendly, too casual for something that crossed a line like that. I love my wife to death. We've been together since freshman year of college, and I've never had any reason to doubt her. She is my best friend. But now, for the first time, there's this knot in my gut that I can't untangle. I've never been the type to snoop. I've always trusted her completely. But right now, I'm sitting here, wondering if I should check her phone. It's password protected, so even if I wanted to, I don't know how I'd do that without her finding out. This is eating me up, and I know I need to do something about it. Would I be the asshole here if I go through her phone? And even if I wanted to, how can I if it's password protected? 509 Rhyme Animal says, "You don't do a thing right now. You play it cool for a couple of days. You just confirmed your spouse is cheating, and there's a whole lot of emotion running wild. Take a couple of days to process, then start moving money, securing assets, gathering proof of funds, proof of the affair, and contact a divorce attorney. When the papers are drawn, break the news. This is assuming that you want to end the relationship. Even if you don't want to end it, give yourself some time to process." Enough Pack 7468 says, take screenshots with your phone so you don't have to delete anything from the iPad and alert her so that you have proof. It must have been devastating to read those messages. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. You deserve better. This is not your fault. Key Duck Eye says, "When you know, you know. Don't try to talk yourself out of it. I'm sorry for the pain that you're about to experience, but it is necessary. Do not be a sucker, sir. Best of luck to you." Ugly126 says, "Completely agree. I was working on a roof and had to sit down. Was like someone had punched me in the gut. Couldn't shake the feeling of something wasn't right with what my wife had told me. Fast forward 2 years, and we are separated, and I found out that she had been cheating on me for the last 3 years. If you know, you know. As hard as it is, you don't deserve to be treated like shit. Sucks to start with, but life gets better." Honestly, couldn't agree more with what everyone else has said here. I do think that it's time to just start packing things up and leaving her. I believe you. I believe that you saw what you saw, and that is an unforgivable thing. Yes, you do need to find more evidence, but I guess that's just for the divorce. You deserve better, and I hope that you get better, OP. And now, onto the update. I found her iPad. It didn't have a password, so I got in, and it is still connected to her phone. She has Telegram on it. They've been chatting on there. I'm still going through the messages, but she is cheating. I'm not falling apart yet. I'm trying to keep it together to make the correct next move without effing this up. What do I do? Do I confront her when she gets home? Do I go to his house and confront him? Please help. Update 2. Thank you all for your advice. I didn't tell her anything. I have locked myself up in my home office under the pretense of needing to catch up on work. She is not suspicious. I kept the iPad with me. She hasn't used it in so long, she won't even know that it's missing. I took pictures of all of their messages using my phone as a safety measure as well. They've been chatting for at least 8 months as far as I can tell. Telegram is their main communication channel, it seems. They've sent each other nudes, sex messages, and making plans on making their relationship official after leaving me and his wife. I can't believe that she would do this to me. From the messages, I saw she had sent him a sexy, suggestive photo of herself on her way to the gym earlier this evening, and when she got back home, she started kissing me and wanting sex. I declined, saying that I needed to get work done. I'm confused right now and unable to think clearly. So I will follow the advice that I am offered here. Lawyer up and gather evidence. I will work on those. I also saw several comments advising me to separate my finances from hers. We co-own the apartment that we live in and have joint bank accounts. My parents died in a car crash 2 years ago and left me a large inheritance, which she knows about. She does not have access to the money in that fund. Is there anything that I need to do to protect myself if it comes to that point? We don't have kids yet. Update 3. I work from home sometimes and didn't have any meetings this morning, so I spent it researching and calling lawyers. I have 2 consultations lined up for tomorrow, but the majority couldn't book me in until next week. I will tell his wife and show her proof as soon as I settle on a lawyer and get myself covered first. Once she's been informed, I'll give her time to get her affairs in order and secure a lawyer if that's what she wants to do before I decide what to do next, such as confronting my wife. I don't understand how I'm feeling. I'm not angry for some reason. More numb, maybe. Sick and nauseous when I think of the messages I've read, especially the sex messages. I just feel like I'm just doing the things that I need to be doing right now, but it's almost like I'm living somebody else's life. I don't know how long I can keep up the poker face without her noticing that something is up. Thank you for your messages and support. Update 4. Guys, I am humbled by all the messages and advice I received. Not much has happened since yesterday. Just keeping myself busy with work in the gym. The anniversary of my parents' passing is coming up in about a month, and she obviously knows this. So when she asked why I seemed off, I just told her that I was thinking about them. I have consultations with several lawyers lined up, most next week, a few this afternoon. I will update after I settle on a lawyer and know what my options are. Update 5. I found a hell of a lawyer who managed to draft my divorce papers within days, which were filed this morning. I'm in a no-fault jurisdiction, which meant all the evidence of the infidelity which I had gathered can't be used in court. The good news is that my inheritance is safe because I didn't use the money for marital expenses. Our condo was a wedding gift bought by both our parents. Each side contributed 50% to the down payment, so one of us will have to buy the other out or we both sell it. I called the OBS on Saturday and asked to meet her for coffee. I chose that day because ironically, her husband and my wife had gone on an overnight trip together. I found out from their messages on the iPad. The lies they were going with were, my wife was staying at her sister's for the weekend to help with the kids while her sister's husband was away on a business trip and her husband was going away for a work-related project. The truth was, my wife and the husband were taking a trip out of town together and were staying at a hotel, all paid for by the Casanova himself. I showed her their messages on the Telegram app, pictures included, all of it. She told me she noticed him feeling distant and withdrawn a few months ago. She thought that it was just work stress and had no reason to suspect he was cheating. Finding out that her husband was in fact cheating, and with my wife, who is also her friend, came as a blow to me. We chatted some more, and I gave her my lawyer's number as she considers her options. On Sunday night, my wife returned from her sister's house. She walked through the door and greeted me with kisses, saying that she missed me after she had spent the weekend with her lover. Her ability to compartmentalize is almost diabolical. I sat her down and told her that we needed to talk. I had the whole conversation recorded without her knowledge, following my lawyer's advice, as I live in a one-party consent state, and here is how it went. I asked her to promise to be honest with me. Of course, baby, but she was nervous. Then I asked her a series of questions. Do you love me? Yes. Are you happy with me? Yes, of course, baby. Have I been a good husband to you? Do I treat you right? Yes and yes. What the hell is going on? Please humor me. Okay. Have I ever done anything to hurt you, whether physically or emotionally? No, of course not. What the hell? Okay. So if you're happy with me, then why are you cheating on me? She stared at me in shock for a good minute and then immediately started denying it. This went on for a little while, and then I just told her to drop the act because I found out the truth. Eventually, she broke down and admitted to kissing a guy who had been hitting on her at a bar during a night out with her girlfriend a few months ago. I don't know why, but at this point, I started laughing because the whole thing was just absurd. She not only cheated on me, she had taken every opportunity she could find to cheat on me. I asked her if that was the only time she cheated. She swore up and down that it was the only time and that it was a moment of weakness, that she was drunk, and it had meant nothing. I said nothing. I gave her my lawyer's business card and said I filed for divorce. I hadn't yet. I wanted to talk to her just once first to see if there was anything left of our marriage to salvage, and that if she wanted to reach me, she should call my lawyer. She cried, begged, apologized, and then started packing a suitcase. She shifted to gaslighting me, saying that I was throwing away everything we had over a mistake. And the worst part of what she said was that I had no one else in the world. Why would I leave the only family I had left? This stung because I told her she was my only remaining family after my parents died, and there was no one else that I could depend on, only for her to throw those very words back in my face. I left that night to a hotel where I'm staying until I find a new apartment. Yesterday, I officially filed for divorce. Edit. My responses to some of the comments. I didn't tell her that I knew about the affair after she said she kissed some random guy at the bar. She ended up finding out from him. The OBS confronted him and called her up as well and gave her shit. The OBS was really upset when I told her and couldn't keep it in. I don't blame her. He really did her dirty. Her mum is sick and she's been going out of town a lot to be with her, and instead of supporting her, he had been using that time to get with my wife. I didn't because I was blindsided by her telling me that she kissed a random guy at a bar. It may sound insignificant compared to the double life that she's been leading with my friend, but in that moment, I think I started realizing how badly she wanted to cheat on me, and it came as a shock. I was too angry to say anything to her without blowing up in her face, so I just left. It's hard to explain why. It just made more sense to leave than to try to find out why she'd been sleeping with my friend after I heard that from her. When I left the house, she kept calling me that night and leaving me messages. When the OBS called her the next day and also confronted her husband, she stopped trying to reach me. It's been crickets from her since, and him too. I put two and two together because around the time the OBS messaged to tell me she confronted him and called her, I stopped getting calls from my wife. Sesame Scout says, the most satisfying actionable steps. Thank you for respecting yourself, OP. More people need to read and learn what to do from this post. Top Ad 7154 says, OP, I have a feeling your life is going to get better from here. You are ridding yourself of toxicity and disloyalty. You deserve better, you are worth more, and I hope it all goes well for you. I hope your ex steps barefoot in a plug every day for the rest of her sad, miserable life. And now, onto the updates. Some updates from the last time I posted. My wife was served the divorce papers last week. I'm still at the hotel and close to finding a new apartment. Last week when I left, I forgot to take the iPad with me. I picked it up when I went back a couple of days later to grab clothes and other stuff. Apparently my wife had a fallout with her friend who was with her at the bar, accusing her of being the one who told me about her kiss with that hot guy. Her friend is no longer speaking with her, it seems. After everything went down, his wife threw him out, and he's been staying at his sister's place. She and I have been talking, she found a lawyer, and is filing for divorce. She has informed our few common friends about what's been going on, and they've all cut off contact with them. Also, the asshole came by my place and spent the night with my wife twice last week. She's also been messaging her sister, who it turns out knew about the affair. My wife found a lawyer apparently, and was complaining to her sister that her lawyer explained the asset division and confirmed she has no claim on my inheritance and that she thought that that was unfair. And now, here is the gut punch. All those conversations about finding an apartment together and becoming official have significantly cooled since my wife's visit to her lawyer, which I found odd. A few days ago, I got a message from her asking if we could put a pause on the divorce proceedings. She said she loves me, thinks that we're being crazy about this, and that everyone deserves a second chance. She even hit me with "I can't live without you" bullshit. If I didn't have the iPad, I might have thought that she was genuinely remorseful. But knowing what she's been up to all week, I knew this only came out after she realized she won't be entitled to a cent of my inheritance. Honestly, that effing hurts. I am following my lawyer's advice, who told me not to respond. The more I think about it, the more I'm disgusted by her, my friend, and her sister. The fact that her change of heart seems to stem entirely from her discovery that she won't touch my inheritance is beyond disturbing. I always intended to use that money for a trust fund if we had kids, something I told her countless times. I didn't touch it because it reminded me of the trauma of losing my parents, the level of disrespect she has shown not only me, but also now my parents, who loved her and treated her like a daughter. I'm just glad that they're not here to see this. I met up with his wife over the weekend. She's my friend too, and she's been going through a rough time, especially with her mum's health issues on top of this whole mess. I told her about the messages. Long story short, she had been reconsidering the divorce after her husband tried to reconcile with her. But once I showed her the messages about my inheritance and pointed out how their messages have cooled, she saw things differently. She also shared something that struck me. Apparently, a few months after my parents passed, her husband had made a comment about how I was a lucky son of a bitch for inheriting their money. She confronted him then, shocked that he would call me lucky after losing them, and he backtracked, claiming he didn't mean it that way. At the time, she brushed it off, but now she's second-guessing his motives. It seems far-fetched, but it's starting to sound like she thought she would get her sum after divorcing me and starting a new life with him. Either way, their behavior is despicable. I've been trying to look after myself. I started therapy, I've been going to the gym almost obsessively, and trying to stay away from alcohol. I'm trying so hard to put on a strong exterior. Some of my friends have said that it's a little scary how cold I've been, but it's the only way I can go about my day-to-day without losing my mind. The nights are very rough. I struggle with sleep. I sometimes drink to help me through it. I'm not proud, and sometimes I cry myself to sleep. Edit: I won't be posting any further updates in the near future, unless something unexpected happens or in need of support, which I would use a different sub for. I will only post another update once the divorce has been finalized, which won't be for months. Thank you for all of the advice and support. Actual Offer 127 says, he might have gone after your wife only because of the money too. I find it suspicious that your wife learns that she can't touch the inheritance, and now a fair partner is wanting to reconcile with his wife. Could be unrelated though. And OP replies, I don't know if that's why they started the affair, but his wife and I both think that's why he came crawling back to her, and the same reason that she won't reconcile with him. Accomplished Mud 1658 says, OP, make an emergency testament in case you pass away or if someone tries to do something. Oh, but she would never... Man, I worked at court. I am very cynical. I saw a lot of spouses like you getting shot after lottery and inheritance. And OP says, thanks for your comment. My lawyer handled all of that when I showed them the messages. I can't speak to the details, but my bases are covered. Kirby Blows says, mad that despite being given all opportunities to confess, she still hasn't confessed to the actual full-blown affair with her friend. Surely she must know that OP knows about it. Unremorseful piece of shit. Foolish Pleasure 99 says, yeah, she knows. Affair partner's wife kicked him out because of the affair, and that's when OP's soon-to-be ex initially stopped reaching out, until she realized she wasn't touching the inheritance. And I agree with that. I hope she steps on Lego pieces for the rest of her sad and miserable life. As I am always going to say, you deserve better, and I'm glad that you are getting better now, OP. And yeah, you did do everything right in this situation. I don't think there is anything you could have done better. I hope that people do learn from your experiences as to how to combat situations like this without making the situation worse for themselves. And as well, protecting themselves from retaliation from their partners by going to their lawyers. You know, your lawyer is going to have the right answer for you in every situation. Or at least, I hope they would, you know, Better Call Saul and whatnot. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I very much appreciate it. And I'd love to know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Our next post is by user PackInner9364, and it's titled, When Meeting the Parents Goes From Awkward to Straight Up Terrifying. So last weekend, I went over to my boyfriend's place for dinner with his parents. I was kind of nervous already because, I knew they were, well, not exactly the warmest people. But I thought I could just push through, you know? It's dinner. How bad could it be? Anyway, so we're sitting there and things actually seemed okay at first. His mum was asking me about my work and stuff, and it was going fine. Or so I thought. But then his dad starts in with all these intense questions, like asking about my family, my past relationships, even my thoughts on, I don't know, life plans? He kept saying stuff like, "We just need to know if you're serious," which honestly felt kind of a lot. Like, I get being curious, but he seemed almost aggressive. And then it happened. He looked right at me, and out of nowhere he says, "I'm at my limit, and you'll see what happens." Like, I could barely breathe. I literally froze. It wasn't just the words, like, okay, that was bad enough, but the way he said it, like he meant it, like there was no joking in his eyes at all. After that, I just kind of excused myself, like, "Oh, I think I should get home early," and left as fast as I could without being totally rude. Now I'm here, still replaying it in my head. I don't even know how to feel. Am I overreacting? But, like, who even says that? Old Soul 1783 says, "What did his dad's last comment even mean?" OK Historian replies, "I'm wondering the same thing. Like, was he talking about hitting his food limit, or was he actually speaking about the conversation with OP? Ghost Pepper Firestorm says, "A woman was frustrating him by not being submissive enough, and he was warning her that he was about to lose control of his emotions and either yell or worse." As someone who lived with men like this, it's a pretty common way to keep women in line. Say something to your boyfriend like, "Your father's behavior fills me with great concern. Is everything okay with your home life?" If he says that everything is fine and that this is normal, I would tap out now. This is not a family that I'd want to be mingled with. If his dad's behavior feels off, trust your instincts. If your boyfriend brushes it off, that's a red flag. You deserve to feel safe and respected, especially with family. I agree. I don't think that that was acceptable behavior by the father, and if the son thinks that that behavior is okay, I don't think you should be with someone like that. I can only imagine that that behavior escalates into full-on abuse, cutting you off from your support systems, blaming you for everything, blaming you for not being submissive enough, not being like his mother, not being a good woman. There are so many things that could happen. It's early days in the relationship. You're better off cutting your losses and running. I swear to God, do not waste your time with this man. But if he's willing to hear you out and change his ways, do waste your time with this man, because then it won't be a waste of time. If he recognizes that his family is wrong and bad and changes accordingly and potentially even cuts them out of your lives, stay with him. Absolutely. And now, onto the update. So my boyfriend just had a huge fight with his dad. He told him to break up with me because I would not be good enough for him. When he asked him why, his simple answer was, "I did not raise my child to end up with a stupid waiter who votes for Kamala Harris." Now it makes kind of sense to me. When we entered the house and his mom opened the door, she asked me how I feel. I was joking that I'm kind of disappointed that Kamala Harris wasn't elected for president, and she must have told him. Honestly, we're both kind of speechless right now. The good thing though, he's totally on my side and apologized 1,000 times for his dad. We decided to go out and have a try to have a good time, not thinking about it until we figure out what to do about this. But it scares me, just imagining what will happen next. When we get married, his dad will probably not be very happy. Am I overreacting for thinking about getting paternity tests? My wife, 40 female, and I, 39 male, have 3 kids. 10 male, 6 female, and 3 male. We live near my family, including my brother Stephen, 42 male, and his family. This morning, my wife and I were going about our normal morning routine and chatting about our kids. My wife mentioned that our oldest son, 10 male, was acting a little absent-minded and doing a poor job planning. My wife said in reference to our 10 male son, "He really is Stephen's son." My brother is often absent-minded, and we often comment on how bad of a planner he can be. So I'm pretty sure that she was making that comparison. But that comment really cut deep. I told her that I didn't appreciate that comment, and she responded that she doesn't see what my sister-in-law likes about my brother. I'm left with my head spinning. I don't think my wife would cheat, but part of my brain is saying get paternity tests just to make sure. Am I overreacting for thinking about getting paternity tests for my kids? Abel Plum says, "My sister tells me her daughter is my child all the time because we have many things in common. I think you're freaking out over nothing. I have a daughter just like one of my sisters in both personality and looks. I say this all the time to her." Skulls and Roses 66 says, "We joked about my daughter being her dad's brother's baby because we saw a picture of him as a baby and she looked just like him. My husband is the one who even joked about it, especially knowing it wasn't possible because we live in a different state and I didn't meet his brother until after I was pregnant. My sisters always joke that her kids are mine too because of the way they act. I think OP is overreacting to a normal joke." Yeah, you are overreacting. She's just comparing your son's traits to his uncle, which is genetically possible without him being the actual father of your son. Emperor Swag says, "The first occasion where I spent time with my girlfriend, her mother, and her aunt, my girlfriend and her aunt were just joking around and riffing off of each other. Her mother turns to me and says, 'Would you believe it? I gave birth to my sister.' It was just a funny little joke about the situation. OP is reading way too much into this." Yeah, I agree. I think doing the paternity tests, that's just a recipe for disaster. If everyone you're asking here is pointing to you and saying, "Chill out, it's not that deep," please listen to them and do not explode your marriage or implode it for no reason other than your, I guess, false assumption that she cheated on you. It's okay to have intrusive thoughts. We all have intrusive thoughts. But you've been told by others that it is unlikely, it is unnecessary, and it is harmful to do these paternity tests. I think you should listen to them, and I do think that you are overreacting. Please just chill out. And now, onto the update. I am overwhelmed by the number of responses. I initially wanted to read all the comments, but the sheer number got unsustainable. There's this weird thing about Reddit where people make hard, conclusive statements. Your marriage is over, she is cheating, go behind her back, etc., etc. I would like to encourage everyone to look for love, forgiveness, and openness. I appreciate everyone's response that I was overreacting. I realized I was applying the most brutal, unforgiving interpretation of what she said. I then looked at the situation through the most compassionate lens, then compared the two, and asked myself why I was being so negative. As many of you commented, yes, I do have some insecurities. I also acknowledged that I have some outside stresses, sleep loss and work stress. Now for the anticlimactic update. I talked to my wife and let her know that the comment was still really bothering me. She expressed her deep regret for making the comment, and I shared that my dark, intrusive thoughts were being particularly loud. I even shared this post with her. She appreciated the support and was uncomfortable with the declarations that our marriage was over. I love my wife, and we know that we make mistakes. Her clumsy statement and my dark thoughts mixed together for a situation that could undermine our trust. Love is a choice, and we choose to forgive each other and move past this situation. I hope you all find love and happiness. And I'm glad to hear that, OP. Thank you for doing the right thing, communicating with your wife, being transparent and saying, hey, I had some dark thoughts. I did take the worst interpretation of that and let those thoughts run wild. It's okay to admit to that. There is nothing wrong with admitting that we all make mistakes. I'm glad that you did right by her, and I'm very glad that you did right by yourself in this situation. That shows immense amounts of maturity and self-restraint that a lot of people don't have in these stories. They don't do that, and they blow their lives up, or their partner blows their life up. It's great content, but it hurts the soul a little bit to see such destruction. So thank you for the story. I appreciate that. I love to know what other people have to say about it down in the comments below. Give me your take. Our next post is by user Tim's Third Account, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for wanting to break up with my girlfriend after she turned off her location, got injured, and didn't tell me? I, 25 male, didn't hear anything from my girlfriend, 22 female, all day yesterday, even though we'd planned for her to come over in the evening. When she didn't show up, I started to worry. We share our Find My location for safety, especially since she often takes public transport alone late at night. I noticed her location was turned off, which was unusual and only added to my concern. As I hadn't heard from her, I reached out to mutual friends to see if they had seen her. One friend mentioned they had seen her at her hobby activity in the evening, where she was with her mother and some guy. The friend didn't mention anything unusual, certainly not an injury, so I just assumed that she was fine. However, I was still puzzled as to why she hadn't contacted me or shown up. I tried calling her parents, who were annoyed that I woken them up and didn't give me any useful information except for, "She's asleep here at home, now good night." This morning, after a sleepless night, her mother finally got back to me and told me that my girlfriend had injured her leg at work, possibly a broken leg, and that she was on strong medication, which is why she was asleep. Apparently a coworker had taken her to the ER right after the incident. But none of this is making sense to me. If she injured her leg so badly, I don't understand how she's able to go to her hobby, as my friends saw yesterday. Plus, it was the same coworker that she mentioned before, the one who had picked her up from my place for work without me knowing. That was already strange because I've always told her that she can ask me for a ride, and I'm flexible in the mornings. This happened like 4 days ago, the coworker pickup, not the whole thing, which happened yesterday. With her location still turned off and no communication from her, I feel like I'm the last to know anything. I'm seriously considering breaking up with her over this as soon as she reaches out to me. If I were in an accident, my first request would be to let her know, and I'd hope for the same in return. Am I the asshole for feeling hurt by her lack of communication and the fact that she prioritized telling everyone but me? Edit, she still has our pictures on her socials, our anniversary on her WhatsApp status, as that's a common thing to do. OK Temporary says, what's her hobby activity? Especially since she was apparently there with her mother, and this guy, sounds, I doubt the coworker, took her to an activity before taking her to hospital. Also, have her parents ever shown that they don't like you? Seems like she was out with her mum and her mum's preferred boyfriend, possibly. Serious Not Serious says, this is what I was wondering as well. I'm glad I wasn't the only one thinking this way. What is the hobby activity? Who is this coworker to the mum? Scrotal Sack 69 says, seems off, but you need to get an explanation that you are happy with before smashing everything. Definitely odd though. This Beat says, yes, breathe and listen. OP is stringing together a lot of events that may add up to something or to nothing. Needs to keep emotions in check and not let his thoughts get ahead of the facts. Jokester316 says, not the asshole. There is more to the story. I also don't see a coincidence in the same coworker being involved twice now in the past week. She had her location off because she didn't want you to see where she was. She didn't break her leg, and while she was in pain, she turned off her location? Come on, don't be that naive. 2 facts you know that she doesn't. Her friend's admission that she was out with another guy, and her mother doing the hobbies. The other is turning off the location on her phone. Those won't change. Her mother has already lied to you. The girlfriend wasn't at work, the mother was with her. Therefore, the mother knows about her coworker. I wouldn't believe anything the mother says at this point. Yeah, I'd go with your gut feeling on this one, OP. If it smells like shit, it probably is shit. Obviously, don't jump the gun, but follow your instincts. It really does sound like you're being played here, and you're not the asshole for feeling the way you do. But yeah, sounds like she's cheating on you, sounds like she's obfuscating things, she is turning off her location, and lying to you. You can give her the benefit of the doubt if you want to, but I don't know, the reality of the situation to me seems like that is what is happening. So do with that as you will, with all the advice that you were given on this post, and I'm keen to see what happens next. And now, on to the update. First of all, thank you for your good advice, everyone. I can now comment on my own thread with NDA. Went to her place with some presents, some chocolate. No one answered the door. So just to have a chat with a friend, I've called her to see if she had any news for me. She then told me, hey, we are at the hobby. Now I can say it is horseback riding. And your girlfriend is also here with this strange guy. So make it quick, They're coming back, I can't talk, I don't want to be involved in trouble. I just politely told her to tell my girlfriend to go F herself and get lost. The friend also, just before I arrived, texted me that the girlfriend did not want to talk to me because she's very mad because I woke up everyone and she got in trouble for that, and that I contacted the friend. Pure jealousy because the friend is a pretty girl. After that, I initially wanted to go home, but then changed my mind and said screw it, I'll just show up there. If they don't want me, the people there, will kick me out, which won't happen as I'm not aggressive, loud, or anything. So arriving at the stable, I saw the guy with the friend, the ex, we can say that at this point, and her mum, and some other people from the hobby. I asked her, hey, I was worried to death. What happened? No reply. I asked her again, hey, I was worried to death. What happened? No reply. She realized I was not going to let loose. In a polite way, not aggressive, as I value that in my argument. She then said, oh, sorry, I don't know how to tell you, but I'm unhappy in our relationship. She couldn't take it anymore. I asked her what she meant by that, and she listed minor things that could have been discussed and worked out. I always told her that I'm open for anything, and I can take some criticism, and with her help, would for sure make a change. So she went on, and I tried to ask for details and went over to confronting. Explained to her how worried I was, that I was shaking and panicking, and you could see in her face the realization that I was not controlling her, but in fact was worried to death. And she noticed in that moment what she has lost. Someone that really cared about her. You could see her face getting sadder and sadder, and then she was pushing for me to say sorry. I don't know if I'll ever be the same. And I just said, what did you expect, you fool, after this bullshit? Then we came to the explanation of this whole thing, or at least what she wanted to tell me. The injury was minor, and she was not on strong medication, but in fact blackout drunk because she couldn't take it anymore. When I asked what it was, it was just that she's sad, but she couldn't really name a reason because I also was never aware of any reason. To clarify the location thing, she first said the phone died, but after I told her the facts, she said, yeah, you're right, I did turn it off. She still didn't tell me that she cheated with the guy, but with all the evidence, for sure the last location of the phone was in this guy's hometown, for which she had absolutely no explanation, started to stutter, and just went back to denying it, and at that point, I told her to politely F off, grab her stuff at the earliest convenience, but please do it within the next week, as I want to move on with her shit. During the whole conversation, I remained calm. The guy was scared to death by me and tried to leave the location. I'm a 6'7" muscular guy, and yet I am so soft and care so much about someone that betrays me, which basically confirmed everything about this guy. She said she just asked him for advice and mental guidance, and that he told her to listen to her heart, and she could turn it around if she wanted. During the conversation, she had hopes and tried to keep her options with me open, but I would never give in to that. I did not expect this post to go so viral, but even I can say if I would have read this story a week ago, I would have said, what kind of idiot would get into such a dumb situation? But it's true. Now that it's over and clarified, I can come out that I am in fact 23, but very mature. I have my own successful company, make some decent money, and look after myself. I don't care if you read this, maybe it shows up on one of your favorite Instagram narrator content pages, and she is 20 female. She is in company training, doesn't have a car or a license, has 3 horses, which she can't even afford one of. She is in debt for unpaid horse bills. But this all evolved throughout our relationship, and I wanted to be there for her and support her, but that's what you get for that. Alright, OP, you were a very cool guy. 6'7", muscular Chad, CEO of many Fortune 500 companies. Probably an 8-inch cock as well. I'm imagining there's a horse down there. That's probably why she liked you so much. You reminded her of her roots. Thank you for the story. Man, you really showed her with that breakup. She was crying. That guy was scared of you, It had everything. Bollywood-esque story right there. You guys broke out into song and dance at the end too. Thank you for the story. Very much appreciated it. Glad that your reality is better than hers. Our next post is by user Dried Garlic, and it's titled, Me, 30 female, with my fiancé, 29 male, of 12 years, waiting for a package from the girl that he cheated on me with. Well, the title says it all. My fiancé Oliver and I have been together for 12 years, stuck together through thick and thin. Long-distance relationship, the usual problems of a couple starting off very young, etc. In the last years, he's been struggling a lot with depression and anxiety, but he's slowly getting better. At some point of our long-distance relationship, we were living in 2 separate countries, and then during his stay, he became very good friends with 2 other people, Ben and Sarah. The 3 of them bonded through shared experiences, same mental health issues, etc. At some point, he came back, and we started living together. Eventually, we became engaged, as we decided on a long engagement of 2+ years, since we both settled on long academical paths. Our relationship, that had at some points been turbulent, settled very well as we both acquired maturity and got to really know each other during our daily lives. Things were peachy. 3 years ago, Sarah moved closer to where we lived for a 2-year stay. We were all good friends. Everything was good. But long story short, my fiancé cheated on me with her, shortly before she left the country, emotional affair included, and I found it by snooping, which is bad on my part. I was devastated. I cut contact with her immediately and demanded for him to do the same, and almost broke up with him. We were separated for 2 months. It was rough because at that time, I had no access to therapy or counseling, and I was really far away from home. But my friends were kick-ass and supported me emotionally all that time. After these 2 months, and a lot of soul-searching, we took the first tentative steps to be together again. It took me a long time to forgive him and to recover my trust for him, but little by little, we healed and we made it work again. This was 2 years ago, and things are really good. Ben did not take the news of their separation too kindly, and he has been passive-aggressive to Oliver about him not talking to Sarah. Oliver has reacted well, and has been adamant about not contacting him again. 2 weeks ago, Ben told fiancé that he had given our new address to Sarah, because she wants to send us a package with stuff belonging to Oliver. He says that she has nothing of his, and I believe it. They have never lived together, most of their friendship they have been living in different places. He has been really anxious about all of this. He doesn't want any contact with her. I personally do not care about her, but he is dreading the day the package arrives. If it comes when I'm in the house, I'll just throw it away, but I don't want him to receive it and get an anxiety attack. So r/relationships, what is your advice? I know I don't have to protect my fiancé from this stuff, but he is hurting, and I do want to support him. I don't think it is compromising material, because I already found the compromising material. I think it's a passive-aggressive way of reminding us of her existence. And what shall we do with this friend, Ben? OP added more info in the comments. Hi everybody. This blew up, oh my. Thank you all for the good advice. It's been really helpful to clear my thoughts. I left out some details that might be relevant, so here they are. I do not think the package contains proof or details. I still do not know. When she was living in the same country as us, she was still 600 kilometers away, so there was not really any chance to meet without me knowing. I know when it happened. Later, she moved to another continent. At that time, I demanded him 1, access to all his accounts, he complied, and 2, that he blocked her everywhere. He did that too, and I believe him, because when she actually tried to contact us later, about Ben, I'll elaborate later, she had to do it through common friends. His anxious reaction does not surprise me. He used to have very serious issues with social anxiety, to the point of being paralyzed about any kind of unpleasant interaction. He has been working on his mental issues, gotten therapy and meds, etc., and now is much better. He reacted maturely to the last developments. He told me immediately, and he understands that it is his mess to clean, but he suffered. Today I picked up a huge package, taller than a person, from a neighbor, and he went through the door, and when he saw it, he really tensed up. Okay, that was kind of funny in an effed up way. This might be pretty relevant too, but I kind of understated Ben's reaction. He did not take well at all his two best friends not talking anymore. As I said, the three of them were a very close group, but he in particular had a magical vision of the trio, being friends forever. He was into Sarah a lot and spent hours talking to my fiancé about how much he loved her. I have the feeling that Ben is into my fiancé as well. When my fiancé told him that he and Sarah did not talk anymore, and why, Ben seemed to take it okay. But 2 weeks later, he contacted her to say that he was about to self-harm. That's why she contacted us. We contacted Ben's family, he was okay. Fiancé set boundaries with him, but did not cut him off completely. I'm starting to think that Ben's reason to give her our address is his particular way of punishing my fiancé for leaving the magical trio. My personal feelings: all this drama has been annoying AF. The general advice of r/relationships seems to be to cut off Ben, and I think it is spot on. I will tell Oliver that I think that it is the best idea, as he is on the fence about it. About the cursed package, personally, I lean towards throwing it away without opening it. I do not want to have anything to do with that dweeb. However, you are right. It is not my decision to make. If and when it comes, I will offer him the choice either to throw it away or go through the contents together and probably toss them away afterwards. Thank you. Good on you for being able to forgive him cheating on you with Sarah and staying with him after that. That's very, very commendable of you. Me personally, I do love some insane drama, so I do want to know what's in the mystery box. But Sarah just sounds like she's stirring up shit. Sarah is trying to break your relationship. It's going to be very interesting what happens. I don't know why Ben is enabling her. Very odd by them. Maybe not the most stable trio of people. Maybe this trio of people was enabling each other's fantastical delusions. That's what I'm seeing here. It's like 3 very unhealthy people, including your fiancé, OP. I mean, I'm here for it, but this is all just incredibly ridiculous. And now, on to the updates. So, I know this is ancient history, but we got an update, and I have several private messages asking me for an update if something happened. So yes, we got the package last week, and it did not disappoint. After reading the advice here, I sat down with him. We decided we did not want the effing thing, so we wrote a message to Ben saying, "Tell Sarah that we do not want anything from her." And then he blocked him. This all happened last year. Meanwhile, life went on. He changed jobs, he is still in academy, and now he is way more happy and relaxed. My job is well paid and interesting, and I can keep some other projects on the side. We got married this summer, and our wedding was perfect for us. Lively, bombastic, lots of food and alcohol, and our friends and family together. It was expensive, but we didn't give a damn. This month, my husband is in a conference trip in another continent, so I am home alone. When I arrived home in the evening, there was a package addressed to him in the mailbox with a stamp from a place where I know that she lived, and a sender we don't know. I thought for a moment, oh my, this may be her. But then I thought that it would be pretty crazy of her to send it now. That night, I was Skyping with my husband and made a comment about the parcel. I mentioned the name of the sender, and he didn't know the name, so I proposed that I opened it with him on camera. And, well, turns out I was right on the money. It contained several postcards wishing him happy birthday and Merry Christmases, all unsigned. Also little notes such as dance in the rain, look at the clouds, walk barefoot, those kind of platitudes. And it had a book, a young adult romance book. I remember saying aloud, "Oh, for fuck's sake," when I saw it. Meanwhile, my husband had a face like he had seen a cockroach in his sandwich. The title of the novel is Stargirl. It's about a girl who arrives to a high school, and she is very quirky and magical, and she dances in the rain and plays the ukulele, and she is very misunderstood by the normies. The narrator dates her but realizes that he cannot be with her because deep down is afraid of not fitting in. So he dumps her and then regrets it forever. It's not a super bad book. I like the prose, but despite the intentions of the author, the heroine is too much of a special snowflake, and her behavior often delves into creepy territory. The book itself had a sad face in the dedication page and a small note saying, "Read the sequel, you will understand." It was crammed with notes in small script, and sometimes the letters had been traced several times over. All of the notes were very idealized descriptions of the heroine, about how magical and beautiful she was, about the things she did, etc. Some of the notes were also about the main character agonizing about staying with her or leaving her to fit in, or descriptions about how they made out. Yuck. There were also drawings of the heroine, who looked like an idealized version of Sarah. I'm not gonna lie, I laughed my ass off at this effing manic pixie dream wannabe. My husband was less amused and more creeped out. He said that she was psycho and that he did not want that shit at home. I kind of forgot about the book for the following days, because last week was my week from hell and I had to work 70 hours. I normally work 30. Because apart from my job, I took a 2-week project working in-house for a company and I organized an art exhibition on the weekend. Also, I got pretty bad health news from a close friend. Think incurable and degenerative. So the topic of Sarah was out of my mind. Yesterday, I finally had time to think about it, and I got angry at that asshole. They've not met in 3 years. Who the hell does this dweeb think she is, etc., etc. I considered unblocking her briefly to tell her to stay the hell away from us, but discarded the idea. Then I considered finding out her address and sending her a copy of Halls and 20 minimalist pepes printed between the pages with a note, "This is a riddle. If you solve it, I will leave my wife for you. Love, fiancé." Then I realized I would rather ignore her, so I threw the notes in the recycling bin and I put the box in a free box so somebody can take it home. That is all. No threats, no pictures, no positive pregnancy tests. It was anticlimactic, but honestly, it was a welcome distraction in a heavy week. I don't like that she has our current address, but I don't think that she'll be sending more stuff. If she does, we will tell her to piss up a robe. The funny thing is that I don't hate her. She's an asshole, but this is just too sad to hate. To mock, okay, but not to hate. Inquisitor1119 says, "God, I read Stargirl when I was like 14. I associated with her for all of a week before realizing that she was definitely a try-hard manic pixie dream girl whose sole purpose in life was being more unique than anybody." OP replies, "I know, right? The cringe is real. I told my friends and they all died laughing. They decided to name the whole affair The Unboxing. I don't think they will ever forgive me for not recording myself while opening the parcel. What makes me wonder is that it's been so long already. Like almost 3 years. Come on, girl, get over it. Get a life. Move to Philly, buy a loft, start a noise band, get 6 or 7 roommates, eat hummus with them, book some gigs, paint, smoke cloves, listen to Animal Collective, start some type of salsa company. Stay the hell away from married people who don't want anything to do with you, MK?" That sounds just like the Anthony Bourdain quote, what the hell? The one that goes, "Eat at a local restaurant tonight, get the cream sauce, have a cold pint at 4 o'clock in a mostly empty bar, go somewhere you've never been, listen to someone you think you may have nothing in common with you, order the steak rare, eat an oyster, have a Negroni, have 2. Be open to a world where you may not understand or agree with the person next to you, but have a drink with them anyways. Eat slowly, tip your server, check in on your friends, check in on yourself, and enjoy the ride." I think we should give that advice to the Manic Pixie Dream Girl here. She is not following that advice right now. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on this situation. I'm glad that OP is protecting their peace here. Very weird package to get, but I'm glad that everything worked out in the end. I would have loved to see the unboxing video. Would have been hilarious, but the story more than makes up for it. Am I overreacting for reconsidering my entire relationship after a single conversation? I, 33 male, have been with my girlfriend, 31 female, for 12 years. Last night we had an argument about one of my friends. This is not a new friend. I met her a year ago through a food drive that my church held and have mentioned her name. Granted, her name is much more common amongst men. For argument's sake, her name is Charlie. Pretty regularly over the year. Last night, I mentioned Charlie and that she was going to head round on Sunday morning to pick me up for church. My girlfriend is atheist, because our car is in the shop. My girlfriend hit the roof, going on about how this was not okay, that she's probably just trying to get me to cheat on her. I was genuinely stunned. Firstly, because I find it incredibly hard to believe that in a year, I've never mentioned that Charlie's a woman. Secondly, when did this become an issue? My girlfriend plays a social sport. The sport she plays is primarily played by men, so the club she plays for has 1 women's team and 4 men's teams. Saturday nights after they play, they all head to the club rooms and get drunk. She has friends that play on the men's team, and I've never had an issue with those relationships. I had this moment while I was lying in bed last night that this isn't the first time something like this has happened. Not to the level that she got to last night, but I've lost friends over the years because she's put an idea in my head about them, so I drifted away. Even right at the start of our relationship, I was adamant that I wanted to embark on a military career. Within 3 months, I'd pulled my application because she didn't like the thought of me being in a barracks at basic training with maybe 3 women. Controlling is the only word that comes to mind. Am I overreacting that within 24 hours of this blow-up, I'm ready to walk away completely? Edit. Well, that escalated. Thanks for everyone's inputs. I'll add some context for people here. The not married thing. She hates the idea of marriage because she doesn't believe a woman can just be given away from one man to another. I have no issues with this. People saying I admitted that Charlie was female to hide it? I went back through my texts with my girlfriend. There are multiple times I've mentioned Charlie as a woman. The first one I can find is December 10th, 2023. My girlfriend asked me who's going to a planned church lunch, and I said, Michael and Alex are coming, they got a sitter for Noah last minute. Charlie can't, she's doing the food drive with the new guys. Still haven't heard from Seb and Liam. She's known Charlie's a woman for 9 months. I'm not a devout Christian. My faith is important to me, but my church work is mainly to help the community. OK Analyst 5801 says, it's not the blow-up that caused you wanting to leave. The blow-up made you look back and notice a series of situations that have caused you to look at your relationship and her differently. Now that you've noticed it, it's hard to unsee this behavior. You should talk to her first. Bring up all the situations where you have had to give up friends and the situations where she hasn't, and make it clear that you need this to change. Her reaction will point you in the direction that you need to go. Thank you. Really good advice. The thing is, since I posted, I've basically gone through everything that's happened in our lives. There are literally hundreds of these little situations where I wanted to do something and she would put a bad idea in my head about it, so I wouldn't go through with it. I feel like I've missed out on so much stuff I wanted to do. Traveling being a big one too. I've always wanted to go see the world, but she didn't, so I haven't. Yet. GCOT802 says, while it's not impossible that she's projecting, I do want to offer another perspective. You are Christian and she is an atheist. This is a huge divide on something central to your lives. She might be pretty insecure about not being able to connect with you in that way, and the idea that another woman can, and you are close enough that she picks you up and gives you rides, could have her head in a messed up place. It might be less about Charlie being a woman, and more that she is a Christian woman that can relate to you in a way that your girlfriend cannot. Don't break up after one conversation, have a bunch of conversations, and then decide if you want to break up. I agree with that. I do think keep in mind that she has been socially isolating you. She has been making you not do things that you want to do. Those are things that I think should weigh heavy on your mind. They should be driving your decisions. They should be driving those conversations. Like, I want to get to the bottom of this. Why are you so controlling? Why are you the way you are? And why now am I being forced to let go of another friend for you? I'm getting serious abusive red flags from your girlfriend. It's really not fair that she is doing this to you. You really do deserve answers, and I agree that has to be done over a bunch of conversations, not just one ultimative conversation. And now, on to the update. Never expected my post to blow up the way that it did. To those who took the time to give constructive advice, thank you. To those who create imaginary situations in their own heads to justify their position, you guys are weird. The last week has been nothing short of chaos. On Sunday morning, last week, I told my girlfriend that I wouldn't be getting a ride to church with Charlie, but that we needed to talk when I got back. Sat in church, just thinking about everything that had been flooding into my head for the 36 hours prior and what I needed to do. I sat down with her when I got home and started talking about how her reaction to a very simple thing that had no ulterior motives and was just a friend being helpful had set off a chain reaction that was making me reconsider our relationship. I explained, in excruciating detail, all of the little things that I had not pursued, the friends I'd lost, because of her insecurities and constant guilt-tripping. She cried and tried to guilt me even more by saying that my relationship with Charlie was hurting her because my girlfriend can't have kids when Charlie can, even though I've never expressed interest in having children. What? That's so insane. Oh my god. I finally see through her lies and deception. It's all a smokescreen to keep me in check. I left her. I've been crashing on a friend's couch for the last week, not Charlie's. I've wanted to go see the world for as long as I can remember. I'm finally getting started. I got myself a one-way ticket to London, fly out in a week. See where I end up. P.S. I was never interested in Charlie. She is a friend and nothing more. Hill Mickelson says, "Dude, you did well leaving that toxic relationship, but for your own good, get tested for STDs. Her accusation of you cheating could just be her projecting. She basically believed that you were cheating on her because that's what she was doing to you. Also, you might want to start therapy to stop being such a people pleaser and learn how to value yourself and put yourself first." OP says, "Yeah, I did the STD panel during the week. Clean. If she was cheating, I've made the right choice, but I don't care if she was. I'm free of her." And that's good to know, OP. Thank you for standing up for yourself. Thank you for not being a people pleaser any longer. I love to see that, and I would hope that we are all glad to see that. If you're listening and not glad to see it, please let me know why in the comments down below. I'm curious. Obviously, noticing signs of abuse from people like OP's girlfriend, it can be hard. It can be hard to identify that sometimes, and I think it's great that OP came to an objective third party. I mean, as objective and bias-free as Reddit can really get, but glad that he got the help that he needed and he got out of there, and now he's going to see the world. Fantastic news. I hope London is fun. Thanks for sharing the story. I'd love to know what everyone else has to think of this one down below. Our next post is by user MountainLove1926, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for wanting to see my wife give birth to our daughter instead of being grossed out? Me, 24 male, and my wife, 27 female, have been married since mid-2023. She's pregnant with our first child. Her due date is tomorrow. Throughout her pregnancy until the weekend before last, she's been vague about her not wanting me to be in the delivery room. She wants her sister, 31 female, there. With the last few months, I've watched videos of women giving birth. It doesn't weird me out. It seems nice to see, the beginning of life. So with that, the weekend before last, I asked my wife if she's sure that she doesn't want me in the delivery room. She got upset with me. She said that it's going to be embarrassing for her, that she's going to poop on the table, people will see her body, and that she'll be sweating. She said she's doing me a favor by not letting me see all that. She said I'm either lying that I want to see all of that, or I'm some kind of sick freak. Whoa, that's a bit crazy to say about your husband. Where's this all coming from? He can't be a compassionate person? What's going on? She said no normal husband really wants to see the birthing process, that normal husbands want to see their baby and wife after both get cleaned up. I took no as an answer, but she's still upset that I even asked. I know she's sensitive about her pregnancy weight gain and her pregnancy looks in general. I'm new to this, so I don't know. Do fathers usually want to see the birthing process? Am I a sick freak that I legitimately want to see? Was I weird for asking to see? And am I the asshole? Eternal Thursday 1976 says, "Nah, it's really difficult for some women to lose control over their bodies and privacy. You obviously are a thoughtful husband and are certainly not an asshole. And while sick freak was a bit over the top, she is under a lot of stress right now." OP replies, "I think she looks more beautiful now than she did before. I've never told her that because I don't think she'll believe me. She doesn't believe me when I simply just tell her that I think she looks beautiful. She has definitely lost control over her body during all of this. She has pregnancy acne and a pregnancy nose. She has gained over 40 pounds, she is gassy, and I feel bad that she thinks she's ugly and gross. I know women are under a lot of pressure by the media to look a certain way. I will not pressure her. I will try my best to avoid adding stress to her. She is so close to doing one of the most stressful things a human being can do. She doesn't need to worry about anything else. I want her to know that I love her, I appreciate her, I will support her, and I think that she's beautiful as she is. Maybe my wife needs therapy, maybe I need to try harder. Whatever it takes, I'll be there for her." Emotional Hair 1607 says, "Tell her what you just wrote. I think she looks more beautiful now than she did before. I have never told her that because I don't think she'll believe me. She doesn't believe me when I just simply tell her that I think she looks beautiful." OP says, "I can try after she delivers our daughter. If my wife hasn't believed my compliments the past few months, I wouldn't expect her to believe me on the day before her due date." Nonconformist Flamingo says, "Be advised that unless she is having a scheduled C-section or induction, the odds of the baby actually coming on the due date are pretty dicey. Most babies tend to overstay their welcome." Yeah, like me, I was a bit of an overcooked bun in the oven. That's why I am the way I am these days. Reddit YouTube extraordinaire, huh? Wouldn't have picked it. But yeah, I mean, am I wrong to say therapy for you two? Like, please go to a couples therapist to talk about this. Or at least please breach this with a third-party friend that isn't emotionally attached to the both of you, but that both of you trust, I guess. Hard one, because, you want your wife to accept your compliments, do you not? You want your wife to trust you. You want her to love you. And if she doesn't trust your word and then says that you're a sick freak for wanting to see the birth, like, where is the love? Where is the why did you even get married to him then? If you don't believe him, why did you get married to him? She needs some help reorganizing whatever reality she's living in right now, because she's obviously not coping well with her life. Honestly, if I had a wife and she said those things about me, I would be really hurt. I'd be really upset as the husband. Not the asshole OP, absolutely not. And now, onto the update. So this is one of the happiest updates in Reddit history. My sister-in-law and I were alerted when my wife had apparently felt some pain. My wife was so sure that she wasn't in labor, but my sister-in-law and I were cautiously optimistic. We promised my wife that if it was a false alarm, we would buy her cheesecake. At the hospital, my wife talked to her favorite doctor, 42 female. My wife seemed so shocked when the doc said that it was labor. My wife actually wanted both me and her sister to be with her. The labor and birth was smoother than even my most hopeful mental image of how this would be. It was fast, there were no complications. It seems like our daughter was determined to come out before the due date. My wife allowed both me and my sister-in-law to help. I saw everything. I saw our daughter for the first time. This tiny, wrinkled, weird-looking thing is beautiful. My wife looked so happy. It felt like me and her were us again. I told her how beautiful, wonderful, strong, brave, and motherly that she was. She actually accepted that compliment. She decided to name our daughter after her sister. Despite how smooth and amazing the labor and birth were, I will still look out for PPD. I will still encourage my wife to seek therapy, given how intense her body image issues were from month 3 of pregnancy. I hope she will accept couples counseling. I do understand that her intense happiness at the birth doesn't mean that she will continue to be this happy. This was the most love I ever felt for her. What she did was amazing. I'm so glad that she had actually trusted me to see that. I love our daughter so much, more than I thought I could love anyone. My wife is now second place, but I still obviously love her very much. I couldn't ask for more. Waste ad 5565 says, quote, "My wife is now second place, but obviously I still love her very much. I couldn't ask for more." First, congrats. However, this part is important. Right now, obviously the baby is priority number one, and should be, but don't stop dating your wife. Once she's feeling up to it, resume date nights. Don't stop bringing home random "I saw this and thought of you" gifts. Bring her random flower bouquets. I say this because you will raise your daughter, and if you do it right, she'll leave and go on to live her own life, and your wife will still be there. She's supposed to be your forever, and it's a tragic thing when you become empty nesters or all of your kids are independent teens, and you realize you don't know your spouse anymore because you put all of your time and energy into being a parent, and you forgot to be a partner. You obviously love your wife very much, and I know you don't want that as your future, so try to figure out how to be an awesome parent and partner so you can keep building bonds with your wife too. Absolutely. I'll give it the grace that I think it deserves, that, it doesn't mean that you're going to stop dating your wife, but please don't stop dating your wife. Please be aware of your actions and consciously get back into those habits. We unfortunately do see stories of people that eventually fall out of love with their partner because they take on the role of mum and dad, housekeeper, more than they do, hey, I'm still in a romantic partnership with this other person and I need to continue maintaining that. And that takes a lot of work. And that goes for you too, dear listener. If you haven't been maintaining it, get back to that maintenance schedule, okay? It's important. Thank you for the story, OP. That was a lovely update, and I hope that things continue to go well. I'd love to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Let me know. Our next post is by user Mundane Alarm 5684, titled, "Am I the asshole for blocking my childhood best friend after she tried to make me pay for the catering at her son's first birthday?" So here's the thing. Me, 28 female, and Anna, 28 female, have been best friends since forever. Like, we grew up together, went through school, first breakups, everything. Naturally, when she had her baby, I was thrilled for her. I even helped plan the baby shower and got super involved in her life as a new mum. But recently, things have gotten weird. Anna's son turned 1 last weekend, and she wanted to throw a huge party. I'm talking over the top. Rented venue, professional catering, decorations, the whole shebang. Now, I thought we were just going to have a nice little family and friends thing, but nope. Anna had a vision. Fine, no biggie. I figured she could do whatever made her happy for her son's big day. Fast forward to a week before the party, Anna starts hinting that she's a little stressed about costs and how tight things are right now. I get it, having a baby is expensive, but she kept bringing it up in every conversation. I offered to help with decorations or pick up some snacks, but she waved it off, saying that she had everything under control. The day of the party comes, and it's chaos. Balloons everywhere, a bouncy house, tons of people I didn't even know. I show up early to help set up, and Anna is running around like a headless chook. Then, as we're putting out the decorations, she casually says, "Oh, by the way, I put the catering on your card." Excuse me? I hadn't even seen a catering bill, let alone agreed to pay for one, and I say, what do you mean you put it on my card? I asked, trying to stay calm. She looked at me like I was being dramatic and goes, yeah, I've been struggling. I figured you wouldn't mind covering it, and I'll pay you back later. Excuse me? First of all, I never once said that she could use my card. And second, I had no clue how much this catering even cost. When I asked, she shrugged and said, only about $500. It's not a big deal. $500? For food that I didn't even order or agree to pay for. I told her no way. I wasn't paying for something she never asked permission for, and frankly, I didn't have that kind of money just lying around. She acted all shocked and hurt, saying I was being selfish and how it was her son's first birthday, as if I'm supposed to go into debt for a party that I didn't even throw. We had a massive argument in front of some of her other friends, and I ended up leaving early. Later that night, she blew up my phone with texts saying that I ruined her son's day, that I was being a terrible friend, and how I didn't understand how hard things are for her right now. I just couldn't believe the audacity. After everything, I blocked her. I couldn't deal with the guilt tripping, especially over something so ridiculous. Now some mutual friends have reached out, saying I was being too harsh, and that I should have just helped her out because she is struggling. I feel like she's crossed a line. You don't just throw someone else's money into your plans without asking them, right? So am I the asshole for blocking her, or did I overreact? Edits. To everyone asking why she has access to my card, it's still a question to me. Maybe she went through my things when I visited her to help babysit her son for a day before his birthday. On how she did it, I don't know. But I already filed a dispute with my bank about the charge. I will be checking my card to see if there are any other things that she purchased using my card. I really can't imagine that she could do this to me. Throwaway 4/20/2021 says, not the asshole. The audacity of some people. Quick question. Why would your friend have your card to begin with? That struck me as odd. OP replies, that is the question I was asking myself as well. I was so caught up in the moment that it didn't hit me on how she had access to my card number. I think a trip to the credit bureaus is in order. OK Try says, not the asshole. She stole from you. Stole from you. There is no good reason for this behavior. Dispute the charges with your credit card company. Tell them that your friend used your card by mistake. She is not struggling. Struggling is working and still not being able to save or cover living expenses. The party was for her, not a 1-year-old baby boy. I'm glad you cut her off. If anyone asks you about it, tell them the truth. She stole $500 from me to pay for the catering at her 1-year-old's birthday party. If she gets blowback, it is not your problem. She shouldn't have done the thing that would cause her embarrassment if she didn't want to be humiliated. Don't further enable her by making up a more palatable version. I'm sorry your friend betrayed you like this. Nothing about her behavior is normal. Absolutely. She stole from you to pay for her own party, and then she's trying to guilt trip you and downplay just how bad the situation is. Oh, it's only $500 that I myself couldn't afford. How about I steal $500 from you in your situation and see how you react, OP's friend? I don't think you're going to be so kind and nonchalant when that happens. I think you're going to lose your goddamn mind. She doesn't get to decide how much $500 is valued to you. Because what if you value that more than she does? And you lose your goddamn mind at her more so than she would if you did it to her. I don't think she thought this one through, and I think that she thought you would be a sucker. Let's not let that happen, OP. Not the asshole. She deserves to be blocked. And now, onto the updates. I never expected this to blow up. Thank you all for your advice. I have filed a dispute with my credit card company. I also told her parents about the incident, and they were shocked by her behavior. They said they would talk to her. I figured they already did because after I told them what happened, she stormed over to my house, ranting about why I was making such a big deal by telling her parents and reminding me that we've been best friends who literally grew up together. I explained where she went wrong, but instead of taking accountability, she accused me of being selfish. She clearly isn't in the right mind. I don't know if she's experiencing postpartum issues, but I'm not going to tolerate this kind of treatment. I also told her that if she didn't stop harassing me over a problem that she created, I will file a restraining order. As for the money she used, I've decided to follow your advice and press charges, so she can hopefully learn her lesson. For those doubting if this story is real, I wish it wasn't. Not only was my trust shattered, but so was my heart. Toxic Ray of Sunshine says, your ex-friend sounds entitled AF. You may want to seriously consider cancelling the card that she used and getting a new one instead. I know it's a pain, but you never know if she'll use it again to be petty. You're still not the asshole, but it sounds like you could use some better friends. And now, onto the latest updates. Hi everyone. This is part 3 of the story. I really appreciate all of your kind words. I've already sorted out everything with my bank, and they told me the process would be 7 to 10 business days. I also requested a change of credit card because I don't know if she still has access to my card. She's been trying to prove a point on how I'm a bad friend to her. I changed all my locks because she has a key to my house, as she was my childhood best friend after all, and shared almost everything with her. My siblings and parents all went to my house after they heard what happened, just to keep an eye on me. I'm now considering moving to another city because of what happened. Some of our mutual friends also apologized to me for defending her. Apparently, she told our friends that the catering was my idea and that she only spent $100 for it using my card. They didn't know that it was $500 until one of them saw the post on Reddit. Anna also saw the post and went berserk because she said I was ruining her image when I didn't even mention her full name, and there are literally millions of Annas in the world. And for everyone asking on how she got a hold of my card, like I said in my previous post, I was asking myself the same question. It might be that she was snooping through my things while I wasn't paying attention. It might be when I was babysitting for her so she could get some rest. I really don't know. And she won't say as to how she got my credit card as well, because she felt like she doesn't have to explain anything because we are best friends. I don't have to explain myself. I'm going to stab you to death, and I don't have to explain why I'm doing it because we're best friends. You can forgive me for anything. Absolutely delusional. Anyways, this will be the last time that I'll post about this on Reddit, as I'll be taking this to court since things already got out of hand, and it resulted in her threatening me. I never expected that our 20+ years of friendship would end like this. My heart is broken, and my mental health is unstable right now, and she's one of the reasons why. Thank you again, everyone, for all of your kind words and advice. She won't stop on proving her point, so I filed a restraining order. My siblings and parents are also doing their utmost best to help me get through this. In the comments, OP, I'm so glad you pressed charges. Even if she's experiencing mental health issues due to the pregnancy, this needs to be addressed. At least now everyone around her is aware that something is wrong and can try to help her. I also wondered if this is a post-pregnancy thing or an aspect of her personality that she was just better at hiding during the friendship. OP, have you done a thorough check of your credit and accounts since finding out about the theft? I would recommend it. There's the possibility that her theft was smaller and you weren't looking for it. Have other friends do the same. And OP says, yes, I've looked through my credit accounts with TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. I also checked with my credit card company if any other charges were made without my knowledge. So far, it was only the catering. It was maybe her first time using my card without my consent. I have let her use my card before, especially with baby essentials. I'm maybe at fault for spoiling her as well. She must have gotten used to me giving her some free stuff. Someone replies to OP and says, it's probably not a good idea to go to court over $500. You filed the dispute with your bank, all of the friends and family know, the damage is done. The reason why it's not a good idea is because even if you get a judgment, which will consume your time to follow through with the dates to go, it'll be an even lengthier process to actually get the payment. Time is money, and it will certainly not be worth the time even if it is to teach her more of a lesson than that of which she is already learning. And OP replies, no, I'm filing a case because of the $500. I already filed a dispute for that. She started threatening me and even broke one of my windows, so I had to file a restraining order. But even with the restraining order, things still got out of hand. So heartbreaking as it is, I have to take action. Oh my god, she broke one of your windows? No wonder you're going to go to court over this. How dare you make me pay for my birthday party? I'm going to come break into your house and destroy it because you're ruining my reputation with my crazy actions. How dare you expose me? We're supposed to be best friends. What an absolute psychopath. I don't blame you at all, OP, for getting legal action done. That should be mandatory in this case. You need to protect yourself and do something to get her the hell away from you. Honestly, I hope all goes well with that. Doesn't sound like a fun time. Good luck, and thank you for sharing your story with us. I'd love to know what you guys have to think of this one down below. Let me know. Am I the asshole for telling my husband that he and his mother ruined our wedding day for me? I, 35 female, got married to my husband, 41 male, recently. Neither of us liked the spotlight, so agreed on a small event. The only thing I was firm about was I didn't want photos. My self-esteem is in the toilet. In the last 18 months, I have put on weight. I'm not looking to make excuses, but there are some reasons why. In the last 18 months, I've lost both parents and my grandmother. I have lost 2 jobs and had a miscarriage. Depression has hit me hard at times, and I've been comfort eating. 2, I was put on a new medication, and weight gain is a side effect. 3, about a year ago, I broke my left ankle badly. I've had 3 surgeries to date. The last one was 10 days before the wedding. I can't walk without pain. I really didn't want photos that would remind me of the fact that I am now fat. A few weeks before the wedding, my mother-in-law is talking about going to a local beauty spot for photos. I say no thank you, and that yes, I am being serious. My husband hears this, and later that night, I say again, I really don't want photos. And he says that's fine with him. Week before the wedding, I am having the same conversation with mother-in-law and my husband. Day of the wedding, my father-in-law and mother-in-law pick us up. I am no longer able to drive as I can't move my ankle. We get the whole wedding shindig done, and as we're going back to the car, mother-in-law again says, let's go to the beauty spot for photos. I again say no, but she tells father-in-law to drive there, and my husband just sits there. I knew I gave him the look, but total silence. Long story short, the photos are taken and we head back. In the car driving home, my mother-in-law starts showing me the photos, and I hate myself in them. I look like a pile of fat shit. I look ridiculous in a dress with a medical boot, and I can't stop the tears rolling down my cheeks. This upset my mother-in-law, and there was an atmosphere the whole rest of the day. I really tried to move on, but I had to get out of that stupid dress and all. I really just wanted to hide away. Privately, I told my husband that him and his mother ruined our wedding day for me because all I can think of is those pictures. He said he didn't realize I was so serious about no photos, that it's only for his mum to keep, and that he thinks I look beautiful. I told him that not 30 minutes into our marriage, he totally let me down, and I don't know if I'm beyond hurt or furious. He said I was being ridiculous, and that I let him down by making such a fuss over a normal part of weddings. He also said that I hurt his mother. She has some mental health issues, and has been obsessing over me crying on my wedding day, and that I need to reassure her that she hasn't done anything wrong. I told him no, and there will be serious problems if he tries telling her otherwise, because as far as I'm concerned, they both totally ignored my one request, and that was unacceptable. He thinks I'm being a totally unreasonable asshole. So am I being the asshole, Reddit? In the comments on if he wanted photos, OP says, he told me multiple times he was fine with no photos during our conversations about it before the wedding. I have to take what he says at face value, and I did suck it up and let them take the photos. I tried not to cry in the car after. I tried to carry on with the day. I tried to make everybody happy despite the fact that I am not. A commenter asks, Info, did you really want to get married? It sounds a bit like you hated the whole thing and forced yourself. Why? OP says, we both agreed we wanted marriage and not a wedding. We wanted a nice day, but not all the fanfare and expectations. Mini update from OP in the comments. I was ready to be told that I was an unreasonable asshole about photos, but to be told that I shouldn't have got married by so many people has crushed me. We have been together for 9 years, and were planning this wedding well before my life went to shit. We'd been through so much, and I love him and his family dearly. This is the first time anything like this has happened. We both wanted to get married, and it was always going to be a small courthouse event. We both agreed that weddings were silly events, and we didn't want a big fuss. We talked about everything, and as far as I knew, agreed on everything. He never once before, during or after, said he wanted photos. He has done nothing but tell me he doesn't really care about having them. If everyone's saying, what about his day is right, How was I supposed to know if he never said anything? All the information I had told me he was happy. I thought we could have a good day and find some happiness in what has been a lot of darkness. I just had one ask for the day. Are we not allowed to try and make happiness because I am broken? I wanted to make everyone happy, and I tried despite how I felt. After the legal stuff and the photos, I spent the rest of the day hosting the family, getting teas and coffees, making dinner for everyone, trying to make the day nice. I wanted a happy day. I just didn't want to be in the spotlight. I didn't think I had to be in order to be married. Opie explains some of her grief. Thank you. My parents were difficult. They both had issues that ultimately led to their deaths, and it feels like that has supercharged the grief. I don't know. I have now lost every single person biologically connected to me now, and it's a lot of emotions. I eat too much. Yes, it's comfort eating, but also before I broke my ankle, I was a marathon runner. I would easily clock over 70 kilometers a week. I'm used to fueling my body, not restricting it. I never had to think before. Add in quality of food dropping from home cooked to more takeout/convenience and medication causing weight gain, and I'm not sure I stood a chance. Simon says, why did you get out of the car at the beauty spot? I'd have sat there until everyone gave up. Not the asshole. Bulldozer mother-in-law deserves all the bad feelings that she is feeling. She done effed up, putting her selfish wants ahead of the bride's. Apprehensive War says, why did you get married right now? What was pressing? You don't seem enthused to be getting married. It sounds like you're dealing with depression on top of your physical health concerns. So why get married in a dress you do not like, in a surgical boot, 10 days after surgery? Yeah, very difficult situation. And I guess, given the fact that it sounds like it was a courthouse wedding, this isn't something that is going to upset a lot of people and put you out a lot of money if you were to just postpone this wedding. I can definitely fault your husband now for not defending you here. I don't know why he didn't say anything. Like, you literally just got married, and he still can't stand up to his mother. What's the point of marriage? Are you not more important to him than his family? Is his family allowed to disrespect you on your wedding day? What's going on here? Who is this guy? He's known you for 9 years, and yet 9 years isn't enough for him to grow a spine and stand up for his wife on their wedding day, when she's obviously really upset and he knows why. There's definitely a bit of a husband problem here, and I hope that you take from this experience not to let other people walk all over you in the future and decide that you saying, no, I don't want to do something, gets ignored by these people and they force you to do something by pressuring you. Please know that it's okay to say no, and it's okay to stand your ground, even if you feel like the asshole in the moment, because you're not. If you set a boundary, other people should not want to cross it and not even dare to try cross that boundary. And now, onto the updates. With all the comments saying that I disregarded my husband's wishes on his wedding day, I asked him directly, did you want those photos and just said you didn't to appease me? Before you all pile on again, there is no reason he would not answer truthfully. He replied that he didn't care about the photos that mother-in-law took in the woods. He said having seen them, they are objectively bad. He clarified poorly taken on a shitty phone. Not something that he would want to keep, and not worth the distress caused. He said the only photo he would want was one of the look on my face staring up at him when we said the I do's. He joked that he should have strapped a GoPro on his forehead to capture that, but he doesn't need a photo to remember it. I wouldn't have been against that idea because it would have been private between just us. He cannot give a reason for being silent in the car. Mother-in-law has a severe mental disorder, and I believe there is fear around setting her off on a spiral. I explained how ambushed I felt, and that I only got out of the car to try and keep the peace. That really upset him. He apologized for not speaking up. I think he understands the main issues were not being supported and feeling helpless. Everybody's saying that I shouldn't have gotten out. I'm sure you would call me the asshole for throwing a childish tantrum and refusing to leave the car if I posted that scenario. I was in a lose-lose situation. I apologize for letting my insecurities become a part of our marriage. He hadn't realized just how deep my issues run. I'm guilty of putting on a brave face, so I can't blame him for that. We don't want any drama. I'm not going to hold a grudge against my mother-in-law. This is the first time there has ever been an issue like this in our family. Husband will talk to her, but not about my insecurities. He suggested asking her to delete the photos, but I said we both know that he would have to die on that hill. We are going to move past this whole thing. However, I don't know what to do if she makes them public. We both agree that what matters is our 9-year-long relationship that is now a marriage, and not a single day where some papers were signed. I'm sure that comment is going to upset a lot of people who feel that our wedding day should be a magical, life-changing event, but it is how we view our lives together. It has nothing to do with your feelings. I wouldn't put our relationship or marriage on hold because times are tough, so why would I put this one day off? We are not American, and marriage is not such a big deal here. Many couples never marry, and that's very normal. Since before everything happened, our main reason for getting married was so I could legally use his protected surname. This is why we just went to the registry office, and it was 8 people in attendance. I apologize for my fat-phobic language. Growing up in the 90s with a mother with an eating disorder has clearly had an effect on how I view bodies, and I need to work on that. I've had counseling for feelings around my loss of mobility, which has naturally touched on other issues in my life, but I'm going to speak to my doctor about more specialized grief counseling going forward. One more thought from OP as to why she wanted to be married. I have given an update, but as a more complete answer to you, I wanted to be a family with him. I could only legally use his protected surname if I married him or got everybody in the country with that surname to agree to me using taking name. I have had my entire biological family taken from me. I want society, the law, history, I don't know, to recognize my family, which is my husband and I, and the dogs. I have lost my mobility and my freedom with it. Not being able to walk or drive, let alone run, which was my hobby. I have to rely on others so much now when I was the one that people relied on before. Why should I also give up the day that I planned on being married, which was my grandmother's birthday? A commenter asks, why is his surname protected? What does that mean? And OP says that it is rare, so realistically you need to marry into the name to be able to use it. Another commenter says, this is hard for me to decide, because you have a right to say no to the pictures, but pictures aren't really for you. My brother didn't like pictures taken of him very often, and now he's dead. I would love to have some more pictures. I get so excited when I can find one with him in the background. Same with one of my grandmas. Pictures aren't so much for us, but others. I've learned if someone wants a picture of me, I almost always say yes now. And OP says, I can see your point, but these are poor quality photos that were not just for my mother-in-law, because she waved them right in front of my face in the car moments after they were taken, after I had said no 3 times, which caused me to start crying. People seem to assume that I threw some sort of fit, but I just sat there desperately trying to stop the tears in my eyes. I didn't do anything else. I couldn't do anything else at that point. Editor's notes, a ton of OP's comments were responding to people telling her that she should have asked her husband, / maybe her husband was lying, / she disregarded his wishes, etc. I didn't include all of them because frankly it got repetitive and frustrating. Just wanted to highlight this fact because in the update, she mentioned all of the comments saying she disregarded his wishes. Not All Ald says, can anyone explain this protected surname business at all? Norway has this, I believe. Surnames which belong to only a few people are protected, and you can't change your name to that without a reason. If it is Norway, it's not just marriage that would have allowed her to change her surname. It's also cohabiting for 2 years or more, or having a child together. It sounds like she would have easily met the living together minimum, so she could have changed her name without getting married. A surname is considered protected if 200 or fewer people in Norway have that name. In order for you to be able to take a protected surname, everyone already named must consent. You can also take a protected surname if you have a connection to the name, for example, through kinship, marriage, cohabitation, where you have lived together for at least 2 years, or have children together, adoption, etc. The case manager will contact you if documentation is required. There's lots of comments, there's a lot that was said and done on this post. I wanted to know about the surname, so I included them. But at the end of the day, it's a kind of bittersweet, I'd say, update. It's not a great update by the sounds of it. There isn't too much resolution, especially in regards to the mother-in-law. It doesn't seem like they tackled that, but I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they're working on their problems together. This is a good step in the right direction. It's not the best, but I don't think it's anywhere near the worst. I think it's an expected outcome, and I'm happy that they are working on their happiness together. If she didn't want to postpone the wedding day for her life to get more stable going forwards, I don't blame her for that. That's her decision, it's her wedding day. I only said to postpone it previously because it sounded like there was just mounting chaos before that day that just made the day a lot worse than it could have been. Regardless, you can't change the past, you can only look forward to making the future better, and I hope the future is better with her and her husband. What do you guys think of this one though? Let me know down in the comments, and thank you OP for sharing your story with us. Our next post is by a deleted user, and it's titled, "My husband died, and I have to pretend that he was a great man who loved me. My husband passed away 3 months ago. I was relieved of that. He abused me financially, mentally, and even physically. When I got pregnant, he convinced me to quit my job, saying that he would take care of me. I could never buy anything again without asking his permission. I couldn't even buy an ice cream without asking his permission, and he decided if I could or not. Even months ago that I had a little bit of money of my own, I had to ask him permission to buy something. What was mine was his, and his was his own. But I stayed there because I still loved him, and I didn't have a place to go. I had too low self-esteem and let myself be stepped on. When I stopped loving him, he had already had his first affair. He made me believe that I was to blame for the affair because I didn't want to have sex months after my birth that left me torn, and I had to receive stitches. I was already planning my exit and saving money little by little while I was working selling things from home since he wouldn't let me work outside because he was very jealous. I wanted to pay for a lawyer. He was having another affair with a friend of his, which luckily kept him busier, and I didn't care anymore that he didn't pay attention to me. I wanted him to stay as far away as possible. I knew that man, and he knew me. I could have made a big fuss, but I didn't. I kept quiet, planning my way out, while he and that man slept together in secret. I only felt disgusted by my husband, nothing more. But my husband died in a way I never would have expected. He is now a martyr. When someone dies, all the sins of that person disappear? Because that's what even my family thinks. Those who knew about his affair and how he manipulated me are now talking about how good of a man he was and that we shouldn't insult someone who is dead. Everyone around me talks about how beautiful our relationship was. His family talks about what a great man he was and how he was always focused on giving everything to me and our kid. His affair partner hugged me at the funeral, saying that my husband loved me. His friends told me what a great person he was. Everyone talks about how good he was and how he is now an angel in heaven. And I have to pretend to be sad. The day he died, I cried a lot, but not out of sadness. I cried with relief, and I felt free. It would have taken me too many years to save to pay for lawyers with my little store without him realizing that I was keeping money in secret. He would have kept everything. He would have made my life a living hell, and I know it because he told me so every time I stood up for myself. But now I have the house. I have everything. I have the monthly money for being a widow. I have my children totally with me. I've started seeing a psychologist. Everyone thinks I do that to cope with my grief, but no, it's to overcome the abuse that I suffered from him. It was really hard to pretend being sad at the funeral, but I did it for my child. I did it because now everything is over and I am free. If I made a fuss, my ex-mother-in-law would have done something so that I wouldn't keep anything. They were just like him. But now I'm just a sad widow who needs help in their eyes. The silly widow who didn't know anything, but that's helping me to be free and have what I deserve. OP replies, his affair partner was his football teammate and friend. He is a man. Thanks. Your husband had an affair with a man or another woman? You have a child or children? OP says, his first affair was with a woman, I think. The second with a man, of which I know. Maybe he had others that I don't know. For privacy reasons, I don't want to reveal the number of children, so I prefer to leave it at that it's only one. OK Pomegranate says, I had already left my ex when he died, but I was still so relieved. My son was a toddler, and with that abusive piece of shit dead, I wouldn't feel that fear of him hurting my son or breaking the NCO again and hurting me. My son never needs to know what his dad was. And of course, I was relieved there would be no more victims. I still have a hard time receiving condolences. The man tried to kill me and would beat me over something as minor as spilled coffee. I empathize with what you were experiencing, the relief and the secrecy you keep around your feelings, but I am happy for you. I'm happy for your loss. You deserve nothing but peace. Puzzle-headed Tap says, why is it when abusive and horrible people die that we pretend they were good people when we know they are rotten and that the world is a better place without them? Why can't we be truthful? I think it's a case-by-case basis with people and who you tell about those feelings. Because I can definitely see why some people close to the deceased would be like, no, he wasn't a horrible person. I never experienced any of that. You're lying and you're a terrible person for saying that. Some people are just going to be entitled to their own proclivities. Not going to, say anything bad about that. I think it's okay for us to be truthful though. If they were a bad person in life, they were still a bad person in death, and it's okay to hold on to those feelings and not lie to yourself and not lie to those around you. But in this story with OP, it probably is for the best that they keep that to themselves, because you do not want his family coming after the estate. It's not worth the battle. Pick your battles. It's not worth the legal trouble. It's not worth the mental and emotional trouble, even the, physical trouble that you could be in because they are just like him. So keep doing what you're doing, OP. As unfortunate as it is, you are doing what is best for you and your child/children. And now, onto the update. It's been several weeks since I last posted, and I didn't expect my post to end in other places. Honestly, I had totally forgotten that I posted here, but a few days ago, the lover and the friend of my ex-husband, I have started calling my deceased husband that way, as I don't want to be eternally tied to the idea that he is still my husband even after death. Death did me the favor of separating us, visited my house, saying that he found my post. One of my sons let him in when I hadn't heard the doorbell, so I had no choice but to let him in to not make drama in front of my kids, and I wanted to know what he was going to say. Once alone, he told me that he knows that I know about him and my husband having an affair because of the post that I sent to TikTok, although I never did any post on TikTok. He told me that my husband was not the best husband, but he was a great friend to everyone and a very hard-working man to everyone. That even his family misses him too much, and even though he had mistakes in the past, that I should let go of the past and stop digging into it, because we're all better off like that. He was insisting for a while to such an extent that I felt intimidated by him, to the point that he reminded me of my husband, and that's the first time I've had that feeling with a man that is not my ex-husband. I can talk peacefully with them, but this situation made me feel on the verge of a panic attack because of his attitude. He's basically scared that I'll tell everything. He's gay, and I don't know if he has a boyfriend, but maybe he does, and that's why he doesn't want me to say anything about their affair. I've been a submissive woman for years. My ex-husband turned me into a fearful woman that I wasn't before. He made me this kind of woman who was always going to put her head down. But when he died, I felt so happy and liberated, I cried with relief for days. And when this man came into my house to tell me what to do, it was like seeing my ex-husband again, giving me instructions about how to behave and what to do. The man who knows very well that I was in an abusive relationship because he knew how my ex was and chose to sleep with him anyways. The man my husband made me cook for and then screwed him as if I were just a maid that was at my house telling me that my ex was a good person and that I should shut my mouth. He was telling me what to do, and I just punched his face. To be honest, I wanted to slap him, but for some reason I felt so angry that I hit him, and it felt like hitting my husband too. I don't regret it, and it felt good. I yelled at him and told him to leave or I was going to tell everyone what happened. He ended up leaving the house, and he has been quiet since that day. My main plan was just to shut my mouth and let go of the past, but that's one thing. And a totally different thing is that this man comes and wants to impose on me what to do as if I were a doll. Maybe my reaction wasn't the best, but I'm tired of people telling me to shut up. I never managed to say anything to my husband, and on that day, I felt that I somehow did that. I haven't told anyone yet, nor do I think about doing so. But if he does something, I won't hesitate twice before this time whether to make a TikTok or post on Facebook talking about everything. With the issue of the house, with the economic crisis, I'm not sure that I can afford what a house like this is worth, but for now, I've focused on finally being able to get a better job in the future to be able to rent a house and be able to rent this house. That could probably be a really good way to have money. My other goal in the future is to buy a small piece of land, no matter how far away it is. I want to have something that is my own and my children's. My children don't miss their father too much, and I understand them. It has taken me a while to get them to a child psychologist, but recently they started to go to their sessions, and they are doing well. I also go to a psychologist. I think the best thing I've done is to start making excuses for my ex-mother-in-law and my own family for not seeing them as often as before, and I've started the stage of cutting off contact little by little, making excuses with work, or that we're not at home. Although I still have to let my ex-mother-in-law come home from time to time, I think even my kids are happier when they see that my own mood is better. I doubt that many people are interested in this, but thank you for the messages I received. Although many do not understand that cultures and laws are different, and here buying a house or moving to the other side of a country in a month is impossible for many. Llama Llama 48,213 says, "The audacity! He thinks you are still the maid. Good for you for showing your strength and sending him on his way. The nerve! I would strongly advise you to coach your children to not allow anyone in the house. Not just for a fair partner if he returns. This includes the family that you plan to distance yourself from." And OP replies, "Yes, they know that they should not open the door to strangers, but they open the door to people they know because my ex-husband always sent them to open the door for him. I've begun to explain to them that they should not open the door to anyone without telling me first, and now I leave everything with a lock and key." Yet another story where I guess it's not the best ending, but in this one, at least she got to punch the affair partner in the face, and in a way she was she was punching her ex-husband in the face. I think they deserved that. I think he deserved to be punched in the face for what he did to her. I think it's disgusting that he comes back into the house and tells her that she has to let go of her abuse. Absolutely not. It's not acceptable to go, put that on someone, much less someone that you directly hurt with your actions. Like, it's just sickening. Though at the same time, if you can restrain yourself, if you, listening to this, want to do that to the affair partner, it's probably not a good idea. That is a man in your house. That is a man that is angry. There's a good chance that he is going to beat you in return. I would advise against violence unless you have someone there to back you up. And even then, I would advise against violence. But it happened and we can't change the past, so it is what it is. Thank you for sharing your story with us, OP. It sucks, everything that you went through, but it sounds like things are on the up and up, and you are figuring it out, and your kids are going to have a better future for it. Thank you for doing that for them, and thank you for doing that for yourself. Anyway, I'd love to know what everyone else has to think about this one down below in the comments. Let me know. Am I overreacting? I think my boyfriend is lying to me and is gay with his best friend. We are set to get married soon. So we've been together for 3 years. We have great sex, he tells me he loves me, he wants kids, and he tells me that it's just a joke and they do this because it's funny. By the way, OP is 25, boyfriend is 33. His best friend, we'll call him Tyler for the sake of this post, and him talk sexual to each other all the time. I've seen over his shoulder texts saying like, I'ma pound your ass so hard, it's gonna hurt to walk days after. So normal. What you mean you guys don't you guys don't send normal texts like that to your friends? And I have seen photos of both of them sending pictures of their dicks. What do you mean? The old dick Snapchat to your boys? Oh, we're not allowed to have our fun games anymore. What's going on? I was snooping last night. I know, I shouldn't do that. But Tyler sent my fiance a photo of his boner a few days ago, and my fiance said, "Nice dick, bro." And things like, "Too bad I'm not gay or I'd suck that hog." That's so gay to say that, though. What do you mean? That's too far. Like, it almost seems like they're joking, but sending actual pictures of their dicks? Like, multiple times, and both of them hard? Talking like this pretty regularly? Am I overreacting? Please help. We're set to get married soon, and I'm worried that he's cheating on me with Tyler. Edit. I don't have a problem with him being gay. I have a problem with him cheating on me. In the comments, Wime0207 says, "Joking is different, but sending pictures is way too out of line for straight people." OP replies, "That was my thought. Right away, I just took it as guys being guys. I hear them talk like this all the time, but full-on dick pics, I was like, okay. Now this is crossing a line, and I'm wondering if the talk is more than just jokes." The Defecto says, "Seconding on what they said. Actual sending photos is just so out of line. I would trust your gut on this one." Tool672 says, "Yeah, nah, this is not normal. But I'm a if the shoe was on the other foot person and would ask him what he'd say if you were sending pictures of yourself, spread eagle, shots to your girl best friend, and then sending texts about how you can't wait to eat them out. That shit wouldn't fly, and no way he would be comfortable with that. Set a boundary and tell him I don't care if you feel comfortable enough for this. I'm telling you, I'm not. I don't want my husband/fiance getting or sending pictures of other people's genitals. Full stop. End of story." Back up to the post, there is an update. I'm gonna play it cool for a couple of days and just keep an eye on their behavior. Tyler is coming over to hang out this coming Tuesday afternoon, and I might say something to gauge their reactions. Not sure yet, but something to see if they look at each other weird or something. I don't know. I'll update later when I know my plan. I hope this turns out to all just be some big joke between them. Yeah, I don't think you're overreacting, OP. I think, in a way, you're being gaslit to think that this is normal behavior. I know that gaslit is a term that is thrown around too much these days, but seriously, you're being led to believe that the reality you are seeing in front of you is acceptable when all signs point to red. It is not acceptable. That is not an acceptable thing to do. What they are doing is not okay, and I do believe he is gaslighting you to accept his cheating. That is weird. If it's not cheating, it's crossing a line, and it's not okay. I don't like it. It's hilarious. It's such a weird thing to hear, but it's not okay. And now, onto the update. Wow, I'll start with that. I didn't say anything when they were together. I was full of anxiety and all in my head, and I just couldn't do it. I brought it up this morning before he left for work. I said something to the nature of, "I looked at your phone, and I would love to know why you two are sexting each other. I'm not comfortable with it, and we need to talk about this. Are you gay, or..." He literally burst out laughing as I'm tearing up asking this. He says this is all a big joke. He says that this whole thing started because they were making fun of homophobes and people who are insecure with their sexuality, and it went from jokes to full-on dick pics. He said they talk about how it's so funny that seeing a dick makes you gay or people find it gross, when in fact it's no different than a picture of an ear or a hand. It's a big inside joke because straight men are not supposed to act like this, and people who think that makes you gay or weird are just insecure and childish.
This logic is insane.
He says that it just started with sending pictures of dicks from the internet and eventually led to them sending their own because of the shock value. I literally do not know what to think about this. I told him to stop it now, and he said he would respect that and not do it anymore, but also said that I need to chill and doesn't like that I looked in his phone. Ugh. I did see him start talking on his phone as he was leaving the driveway, probably bitching about me. Platano80 says, imagine having to explain to your friends and family that your girl left you because you and your friends could not stop sending each other dick pics. Wild times. OK Faithlessness says, that is a hilarious conversation to imagine. Spiritual Abalone says, yeah, I've joked a lot with my male friends, but we never sexted each other with dick pics. This, I work blue collar on oil rigs, and some of the shit we say to each other our wives would wonder, but sending pecker pics is crossing the line. McGinney says, so I'm an openly gay man. I have tons of straight bros who are not only very supportive, but we all act blatantly gay towards each other. My best friend of 24 years calls himself my husband in an overly gay voice. I say, damn right, baby, and slap his ass. And we laugh like dumbass 14-year-olds. I've never seen any of their dicks on purpose. Maybe the accidental 2-second glance out of the corner of my eye at a urinal that has no barriers, but I have no clue what my boys' look like. The only people I've sent a picture of my Nathan's Cooney Island Frank to have been sexual interests. SFW Mandy says, my ex was super into a specific kind of porn, and for a while he was like, I just think it's funny. I brushed it off until I caught him using Grindr. You should play the Grindr notification sound and see if he reacts. Lol. I'm only kind of kidding, but absolutely sending nudes to anyone should not be happening. Update 2. Boyfriend posts his side of the story. So I sent this to my soon-to-be wife to post for me. We had a heartfelt and serious discussion about what she's been thinking, and then she told me about her Reddit posts. I'll be honest, I have shared these with Tyler, and we find this all super hilarious, as well as my fiancé now that she understands. All three of us hung out a few days ago and talked about it, and we shared a good laugh. Conclusion, our sense of humors are much more developed than your average Redditor. A lot of people say gay humor between straight men is normal, but Snapchatting a picture of your hard cock when they're not expecting it is too far and not funny? Get the hell out of here. People on these posts are the ones making it sexual, not us. We just find it hilarious because it's unexpected and shocking, and people's reactions when we tell them we do this, like all of yours, is funny as hell to us. This is not a secret among our group of guy friends, and a handful of other dudes have seen our dicks besides just us too. After my conversation with my fiancé and Tyler, we agreed that we wouldn't behave like this anymore if it made her uncomfortable. There is nothing wrong with being gay, and if either of us was gay, we wouldn't have a problem with that or keep it a secret. It's not our fault that we've unlocked peak humor, and y'all are projecting your perception of sexuality or insecurities onto the situation. We live in a pretty homophobic world, and I'm sure a lot of the men in these threads got bullied and called gay when they were in school growing up. Your fear of people thinking you're gay is not my problem or has anything to do with my life. It's perfectly okay if you wouldn't send a photo of your cock to one of your friends. But if my bud Tyler wants to hit one of our bros with a dick pic randomly every 6 months when they're least expecting it, and everyone involved just finds it funny, then who gives an F? It's not his fault that you have a weak sense of humor. If you see a penis and think of it as inherently sexual, that says more about you than it does us, buddy. To answer a lot of people's questions, no, I would not care if my fiancé sent a picture of her vagina to one of her girlfriends as a joke. Literally wouldn't bother me in the slightest. If it bothers you, that's you. I also saw a woman in one of the threads who said she divorced her husband because he wanted to get pegged because that's gay. So obviously the understanding of sexuality in this community is limited. A man and a woman engaging in a sex act is not gay in any capacity. Homosexuality is when two men engage in sexual or romantic behavior, and that's it. Do people send dick pics in a sexual capacity? Obviously. Sometimes it's just funny. Get over it. Sorry you're insecure about people seeing your dick. It's just a penis. It's not going to hurt you. This is a very weird, backwards, Puritan society that we live in. After speaking about it with my fiancé and Tyler together, she understands it's just a big joke to us, even though it's not her particular sense of humor. She said she doesn't know if she's okay with it, so we agreed that we won't act like that anymore. Boom. Problem solved. She's my soulmate, and I love her very much. Everyone telling her to run away or break up with me is an effing idiot projecting their own shitty relationship experiences onto us. Maybe learn to give advice objectively instead of projecting next time. You don't know us. You don't know the dynamics of my relationship or of my friendships. I appreciate everyone who actually tried to offer her thoughtful, compassionate advice that led to us communicating about this so that we could move past it. I don't have a Reddit, but my wife will show me this post later tonight, and then we are moving on from all of this bullshit. Goodbye. I don't like this guy, and I don't have to be someone who participates in Reddit and be under these delusions that he says to not like this guy. To me, he kind of just sounds like an asshole and doesn't like that other people have other opinions on what normal is to them. Because to me, there's no way that's normal. And him saying that these people pushing back are the problems? No. You're in denial, buddy. That's a crazy thing to do with your friends. You don't have advanced humor. You have brain rot. Get over yourself. Oh my god. And on to the latest update, titled, Recent Issues with My Fiancé, but the last few days have been amazing. So I accused my fiancé of something recently. Being gay with his best friend. It's a long story, but I'm not getting into it. And I agree with him that I was totally overreacting, and the last few days now have been so amazing. The sex, the princess treatment, the constant attention. I hope things stay like this, and I'll be such a happy girl. Am I childish to think that it's gonna stay like this forever now? He's like 10 times more into me right now than he seemed before. Capo on Second says, this whole situation reeks of manipulation. He's trying way too hard to defend it. Not gonna lie, I've seen my best mate's dicks, as we travel a lot and camp often, and my mates have been known to send a Snapchat with a sneaky ball or a subtle foreskin showing, but a full-on erection is way too far. That's what pushes it from jokes to sexual. Sounds like you've caught him red-handed, and now he's trying super hard to keep you happy because he's embarrassed and worried. Edit, to add to the point where is the line he draws, yeah, I've touched his dick, but we just find it funny. Touching your mate's dick doesn't make you gay. We're just taking the piss out of homophobes. Yeah, I sucked it, but I didn't go all the way. Now that's gay. I was just helping him out. OP says, can you explain why you think this is manipulation? He is manipulating your feelings by giving you princess treatment and making you feel special. Would this behavior have happened if you didn't confront him about being worried about him cheating on you with his best friend? Also, I'd like to point out that his words pretty much exactly from what I remember from the last posts were that dicks aren't inherently sexual, so sending pictures of his erection to his best mate isn't gay. By that logic, if your male friend sent you a picture of his erect penis, then there is nothing sexual about it, right? Do you think he would take the same stance if that was the issue? Preach it. If you're gonna go with that line of logic, make him prove that dick pics aren't inherently sexual, and make him prove that he is being a hypocrite in this situation and that he was cheating. There's no way that he love bombs you. Love bombing only happens if someone knows what they've done is wrong. He is so full of shit. He is so incredibly full of shit, and he's trying to say, actually, this is a Reddit problem. Everyone on Reddit are virgins and losers. Like, shut your mouth, man. At least everyone on Reddit isn't sending pictures of their dick to their mate for a laugh. That's gross, and that's really weird. And it's obvious that it's unacceptable because your girlfriend said it's not cool, and it's a threat to your relationship. Stop living in Fantasyland delusion. Oh my god. Be so for real for a second. Anyway, thanks for sharing the story with us, OP. I'm a little enraged. I'm very much entertained. That was definitely one of the stories of all time. What do you guys think of this one? Down below, let me know. Our next post is by user Remote Caramel 7707, titled, "My sister and fam visit regularly, treating my home like a hotel. Am I overreacting to say that they are no longer welcome to visit for more than 2 nights? I live in a fantastic location, near the beach and a short drive from hinterland. I have kids aged 8 and under and a full-time job. My husband also works 13 to 14 hours days. We have our hands full. When my sister comes, I move one of my kids so that her and her family have a room big enough. They leave wet towels on the bed, and I have addressed this with my sister before. However, she and her husband reacted quite immaturely to this, blaming one another instead of just saying, 'Noted, won't do it again.' They still do this. They both shower twice a day, which is fine. Not great, but what is frustrating is one of them has a 45-minute shower each time. They let food overflow on my stove and try to clean it up, and they just leave it stained. This weekend, I was left to do laundry, cook breakfast for them, breakfast for my kids, and at one point, also asked to hold their one child whilst I was doing all of that. They are also always late for events. I usually have to give them an earlier time to try and get them to places on time, and even then they can be quite late. They sleep in, lounge around, and then go out all day, coming home after the kids have gone to bed. My kids absolutely love and adore them, and are always disappointed that they aren't spending much time together. My sister and brother-in-law also have a tendency of telling the kids that they'll come to their sports, and then not turn up. Brother-in-law also likes to play pranks. He called me at work when I first started and pretended that there had been a house fire at my home. I was stressed, and when I tried to address it, I got blamed for making it awkward. I've asked him not to prank me, and he says he only does it to those he loves, and I was like, please, I don't appreciate it. And he stopped for a while. My youngest is also behaviorally challenging, which is exacerbated dramatically when they are here. Am I overreacting if I set ground rules to their visits? Towels stay in the bathroom, showers max 10 minutes, can't stay for more than 2 days. What would be a tactful way of laying those ground rules out? Shashi1066 says, "You are not overreacting. Your brother-in-law sounds immature and passive-aggressive. Who calls someone as a joke to tell them their house is on fire? Yes, limit their time in your home. Expect pushback. They do not deserve an explanation if they are so self-unaware." Mama Nixie Underfoot says, "Worse, he called her at work for a job she just started. Was he trying to make a bad impression on her co-workers and his boss? Was he trying to get her fired? He has passive-aggressive issues with her. It's best to avoid him until he finally gets the message that his actions have consequences." Ah man, type B parents. My worst nightmare. I mean, I understand that kids love them, but I'm definitely going to be a type A parent, that's for sure. That for me was the first red flag in this situation, and that's not shade to you. If you're a type B parent listening to this, I love you. These two, I do not love them. This is like that story where the guy pushed his girlfriend or wife down the stairs and was like, "Pranked. I pranked you so good." She was pregnant as well. She's pregnant and he's pushing her down the stairs. What a funny prank that is. Hey, brother-in-law, how about I put a gun in your face and I pull the trigger? Would that be a funny prank? It's just a prank, bro. Like, what's going on? I just hate people like him. I hate people like the sister as well for enabling this behavior. None of what they're doing is acceptable, and they're making you feel bad. They are manipulating you to feel as though you're the asshole when you are extending so much grace to them, OP. Don't let them get away with it. You're not overreacting. Put even harsher restrictions on them. They deserve less than what you are giving them. And now, onto the updates. So I'd posted about my sister and brother-in-law who come over and stay every few months for 2 to 6 days at a time. 6? Oh my, no. They leave their wet towels on our beds even though I ask them not to. He takes 45-minute showers twice a day, and they don't really spend time with us. They more go to do their own thing and come back at night like we're a hotel. It's upsetting to my kids because they don't understand why their aunt and uncle don't keep their promises of coming to their games like they said they would, or play whichever game they promised they would. Sure, they are busy with their 1-year-old, but I've asked them not to make promises that they can't keep. I don't think I went into this at all in my last post. There were a lot of comments pointing out that I'm a doormat. Okay, I heard you, Reddit. And I think in the comments, I mentioned I am of a culture where we open our home to family and are overly hospitable. I was, however, born and raised in the West, but Mum was overly hospitable, and looking back, often it was to my detriment. There is more to what happened in June. My brother was also there, but he's a whole other post. Maybe a novel. Sounds like it. Reddit, you'll be very proud to hear my update. My sister called me 2 weeks ago as my birthday was approaching, and she wanted to ask if she could come for my birthday. I told her no, as we had a lot on and that it wasn't ideal. It was the last weekend of kids' school holidays. I just needed to get my house in order and iron their school clothes and my work clothes and get them back into a routine and just have some family time that weekend. I didn't say what we were busy with, but just that it wouldn't work for us. She tried again, but explained that her friend is arriving from interstate to an airport, 90 minutes from me, but almost 4 hours from them, and she was hoping they could stay at mine before leaving in the evening to pick her up and heading home. So it wasn't for my birthday, but for convenience. And then she planned to head off in the evening in the middle of the birthday celebrations, and it would have been disruptive because our kids are always sad to see their favorite auntie and uncle and cousin go. I was like, sorry, no, and I'll have to call you later because my kids were fighting again. On a tangent, I won a weekend getaway to an island from a $5 raffle. The island is about 1 hour off the coast. It was a 3-bed townhouse and I wanted her and her family to join us. But the thought of cooking and cleaning after them didn't sound fun to me. In fact, I felt stressed about it. I ended up asking my husband's cousin and his family. They pitched in with cooking and cleaning. They have kids the same age, which was great, so we all handled the kids well. It was just what I needed. I need a resolution though. My sister and I live too far apart to just visit for the day. Neither of us can afford accommodation when we visit one another. I would have visited her at least once since June, but have avoided it. I would like to hang out with my sister, but how? I also don't feel like I can keep saying no to her. It will require an honest conversation eventually where I lay my grievances and concerns on the table. She will jade, as it is never her fault. If you recall when her husband pranked me about the house fire and I called him out on it, he eventually apologized, and she called me days later to chew me out and tell me how I made it awkward. Edit. People saying save up for a hotel? They are $300 minimum per night at either location, and about $150 if we meet halfway between those locations. We're facing the mortgage cliff in a few months, and can't justify the cost. Edit 2. Meeting halfway doesn't interest me. Halfway Points is my old hometown of a decade. We will make plans. Sis will be anywhere between 1 to 4 hours later. We've done this song and dance before. Yes, she has been 4 hours late. Recent times, I've carried on to try and enjoy whatever activity I had planned, but the kids ask where their aunt and uncle are every 5 minutes, despite them knowing aunt and uncle are always late. If I'm going to that city, I would rather make plans with friends who won't flake. See my sister-in-law, go to the man-made beach there with my kids and cousins who live locally. Moontiara16 says, you love her because of history, and she is your sister. She loves you because of what you do for her and provide her. She doesn't care about your feelings. Why do you show your children how to get used, abused, and unloved? You're showing them that it's okay for your sister to do this. These are lessons they will take into the future. Your sister is a grown person. You don't need to tell or show her anything except indifference. And OP replies, here's the thing. I had a talk to my older kids. They were asking when my sister and family were next visiting, and I said not for a while, and they asked why. I explained that after their last visit, I was uncomfortable inviting them back. The older two understood, but the youngest blabbed to my brother. Oh, that makes it awkward, but what can you do in this situation? I just keep your peace, protect your peace, OP. Go into the future, learn from your mistakes, and don't let this happen again. As much as she wants to jade and be like, oh, well, the house burning down prank was actually just sarcasm. I don't know what you're getting so worked up about it. Oh, how dare you impose limits on us when we intentionally mess with you and we make a habit of it. Like, probably go get some counseling for this one and work on effective strategies that you can stick to keep these people from continuing to take advantage of you. That would be my honest opinion in this situation. I don't know how effective it would be, but it sounds smart to me. Anyway, thank you for the story. It was interesting, it was good, I liked it. It's got a lot going on. I hope you contain that mess. And I'd love to know what everyone else has to think about this one down in the comments. Let me know. Am I the asshole here for getting an apartment and not telling my husband that I'm moving out? We've been married for 1.5 years. Before we got married, he caught me texting my ex. I immediately cut ties with my ex, but since then, my husband has been obsessed with my ex. For 2 years, he's said things like, why don't you call your ex and see if he'll come help you? Maybe your ex will take you back since you won't take out the trash. I get it. I broke his trust, and I deserved the treatment he has been giving me. In the last 6 months, he has gotten so much worse. He has threatened to call the cops and have me arrested because I pushed him back after throwing out items that belonged to my children and said I assaulted him. I know what I did was wrong. I have spent over 2 years dealing with it and trying to make it up for being unfaithful. At what point is enough though? Do I deserve to be belittled in front of my kids? Do I deserve to be told that I'm the reason that I can't hang out with my friends because they may allow me to go be with another man? I have lost all my individualism because I was texting my ex only a couple of months after we broke up, and I still am getting items from his house. I know I'm the asshole when it comes to the beginning and texting my ex, but after 2 years, if there is still no trust, should I stay or go? I started looking for an apartment and got one first try. Won't be ready for another month, and at which time I need to pay rent and security deposit, so I've been putting all my money aside to pay for it. I asked my husband 3 weeks ago why he married me. He responded with repeating the question and asking me, which I had written down so I could hand it to him. I said I asked first, in which he replied, because I love you. I said, but why? Nothing. He stopped talking about it and nagged me for not taking out the trash after making dinner and doing dishes. I feel more like a slave than a spouse most days. I finally gave him the piece of paper with the reasons I married him, most of which those are now the reasons I want to divorce him. I don't feel safe or confident in sharing anything with him because he tells his friends. Like, I told him I tried butt stuff once because it was a conversation, and I said I don't want to ever do it again. But because I did it, I was able to find out a medical thing that I was having and had surgery. About a month later, we were in the bar, and he told his friends, and I was the butt of the joke all night. I mentioned it to him and how it made me feel, and he said that I deserved it because I was talking to my ex behind his back. Every once in a while, it is brought up. Even for my birthday last year, I got a butt plug as a joke. He never responded to the paper. He read it and said thanks. It's been 3 days, and I'm boiling inside because even after being vulnerable and allowing myself to let him know that he still, aside from saying I love you, has any reason why to be married to me. Love isn't enough at this point. I'm done being his punching bag and him always saying I deserve it after 2 years. Should I tell him that I'm moving out in a month, or just tell him after I get the keys? Am I the asshole here? Edit. I've known my husband for 6 years prior to being married. I was talking to my ex about getting items from his house, how the phone bill was going to work, getting the utilities out of my name, getting the lease out of my name. My husband asked me not to talk to him, and I was. So I lied about being in communication with him. He thought my friend was talking to him for me. I was not dating my husband before I moved out. My ex and I had been broken up, but living together for 3 months prior to me leaving also. Quiet Village 1425 says, wait till you move in, get a storage unit, and move stuff slowly. On the day of the move-in, do it while he's at work and have a mover come help you. Tell the landlord if you're on the lease. Good riddance. Nearby Day says, you can always ask for a sheriff in the US to supervise the move if you feel like he's going to be an asshat. It makes it a lot quicker, at least in the states I've been in. Short Classroom says, from personal experience, I didn't say a single damned word. He left on a business trip, and when he came back, I was moved out and he had no idea where I was. He just got divorce papers left on the kitchen counter. It's safer to just get out and tell them after you're gone. Quote, before we got married, he caught me texting my ex. So for the past 2 years since then, you have tried to make amends and he has belittled you. Why did he propose and marry you then? So he could torture you about it? He should have just broken up then. Tell him after you get the apartment. Not sure if he may or may not get violent, not the asshole. Selkie's Art says, the fact that she wasn't even trying to get with her ex, but to dissolve their apartment and close a shared phone bill and stuff, makes this even worse. Opie didn't even cheat or try to cheat. Yeah, he has no leg to stand on for this continued abuse, and it doesn't make any sense why he would marry you if he thought you were being unfaithful. How is you talking to your ex to break off phone bills a red flag? What a disgustingly immature and insecure person that thinks, oh, well, if you have an ex, you're supposed to go completely no contact with them. Sorry, man, but live in the real world for a second. Plenty of people can maintain amicable relationships with their ex. It is not a black or white world. And this is why it's important to have a support network, and it's important to have boundaries for yourself so that you can mitigate the chance of being abused by people like this OP's husband. Telling people about his behavior, asking if it is normal or if it is abusive, and how they can help you, how you can help yourself get out of a situation like that early on before you're 2 years married to them and under their thumb. I think that's a really important resource to have. I think it's important to have a community around you because right now it doesn't sound like she has anyone there to support her. Definitely not the asshole for getting an apartment. Get out of there and protect yourself as much as you can. And now, onto the update. I want to start off by saying I didn't have an emotional affair, sexual affair, or any kind of affair with my ex after moving out. Just finalizing all the breakup stuff from living together. Here we are, a little over a month, and I've been in my apartment for almost a month now. It got harder to continue biting my tongue, knowing I was going to be leaving. It wasn't supposed to be ready till the beginning of November, but they finished it earlier. The week before I got the keys, we had a blowout over getting fast food for our hungry children after a sporting event. They got their food and went home. His daughter had went back home to her mother, and I have my children more than he does, by about 17 days a month. The following weekday, he took the day off without my knowledge and brought home an old car that he just had to buy. He wasn't home when we had gotten home. He was at the bar, and I was stunned he went without me, and when I have my children. His thing was we always never go to the bar without each other. Apparently, it was only me not allowed to go without him. We got into an argument over how he couldn't buy fast food for our kids, but he has no problem going out and buying a car without consulting me. How he had went to a bar, and if I had done that, I would have gotten in trouble by him, and consequences to me going. Red flag, red flag, red flag. He went on telling me how it's different because I have responsibilities, and his don't live with us. So I said, I'm leaving, I can't handle this anymore, and how is it okay for you to do A, B, C, and I can't go anywhere? I don't think he thought that I was serious, even after bringing home boxes and having my children pack their stuff. I pulled into the driveway with 7 people and a U-Haul, and we loaded all of mine and my children's belongings, and I moved. He helped pack it up, but didn't come over to my new place until he decided to surrender our dog to me as he doesn't have time for him. Yet another red flag. We agreed to continue to date. We went out for my birthday, but I said I wanted to take separate vehicles. He wasn't happy about that, but I'm glad I did. One of my friends came and all of his did. They wouldn't talk to me, acknowledge me, and they did a birthday shot and wished me a happy birthday while I was in the bathroom and didn't even have an extra for me. So I left with my girlfriend and her husband. I didn't say bye to anyone, and a fight ended up breaking out because I didn't say bye to my friends and said bye to a few others. My husband accused me of meeting up with another man because I was definitely not going to his place. When I explained to him how I was treated, including how he treated me, he responded with, "Nobody knew how to act about our situation." I asked him if he told them the truth about how I moved out because of the way that he treated myself, my children, and that I had enough of trying to talk to you and you not taking accountability for everything. He said if I acted like the other wives and be seen and not heard, that maybe they would have talked to me. PSA, if you're married to someone who doesn't allow you to be yourself, leave. We've been amicable, agreed on what he is keeping and what I am keeping. He just wanted us off his health insurance. I've been better, more relaxed, and my children are happier. I'm more confident in my position at work that I had been so doubtful on since I was promoted. I haven't felt like I'm in survival mode anymore. I'm living again, broke because starting over and buying things over again has really sucked. I've been reconnecting with my friends that I hadn't seen or spoken to since we married. I'm crocheting, reading, having conversations with my children that they didn't feel comfortable talking about when we lived with him. I've found me again. The few interactions we had, he accuses me of leaving him for another man. He is driven by my new place, and I have it on surveillance in case he wants to be a jerk. A friend of mine that I've known since elementary school asked me what we had in common and what made me want to marry him. The more I sat there and thought, because I couldn't think of anything other than my family thought that this is what I needed and whom I needed to marry and be with. He's been at the bar almost daily because I'll get text messages from people who see him, or I'll get drunk texts from him trying to start an argument. I spoke with his ex-wife because I was wondering how his child is doing with everything going on. She expressed that they are happier, that they aren't forced to spend more time with their dad anymore. She said this situation sucks, and she wished that he had changed from when they were married. I asked her what she meant. She proceeded to tell me that their children were never good enough, and he nitpicked them. She said she couldn't chew gum because there would be consequences if she did. He accused her of having an affair with every person that she came in contact with. I just sat there in awe. She asked how my children were doing with the change, and I expressed their change in behavior and the activities they loved doing, they are doing them again unapologetically. It was very refreshing to know that 10 years ago, she, the ex-wife, made the same decision that I had made today. I can't wait until the divorce is final and I'm free. I'll live paycheck to paycheck before I would ever go back. Edits. We tried dating after I moved out to try and work things out, and I really just wanted him to stand in my shoes to understand why I left. He didn't, he wouldn't, and my birthday, which was just days after I moved out, showed me that he wouldn't understand or see his faults. We are being amicable as we are not using lawyers, just divorcing, and I filed, which is pretty cut and dry. I don't want to be with him, and he's made it clear the only way he would continue to be with me is if I lived with him again. When I said that it was refreshing to know that she made the same decision I made, is regardless of what he tells people, she knows and understands. I'm in therapy. She was the one who helped me plan a safe leave. I have zero intentions of dating anyone for a long period of time. I have 10 years before my children are both graduated from school. I plan to just take care of us. Another common body says, quote, "We agreed to continue to date." Are you still dating him after everything he had done to you? I hope you put yourself and your children first during the divorce. This man will not change whatsoever, so please put that in mind for your children. As always, be careful. Because it's better to have a piece of shit than no one? They don't have kids in common. There is no need to ever see or speak to this jackwagon again unless you don't think you deserve better, which is sad. It's sad that some people have these kinds of thoughts, but you never know what kind of verbal abuse happened to her as well. I hope she gradually moves him out of her life since they have no kids together. Aquatic Stoner says, "Oh God, it kills me that she agreed to date after moving out. She needs a clean break from that." Cheery Bottom says, "She probably did it to get out safely. I said the same thing to my ex when I moved out. I promised that when I was ready to date again, I would give him first dibs at dating me before I dated another man. I only promised those things so he would let me go and move out. I never dated him again and certainly never rekindled a relationship with him. Once I was out, I got a new phone and never looked back." What the hell does consequences mean? Why are there two women talking about how there were consequences like that was a normal thing and not a feature in a horror movie? These are grown women. Not that it matters, I guess, since he's also terrible to children. My friend used to date a guy who said consequences to her from a previous relationship, kids. Last I heard, he was doing time behind bars for assault. Yeah, consequences on them, consequences on the kids. If no one does what I say, everyone's getting assaulted, is basically what he was saying. I'm confused and I don't want to victim blame, but how do you get with someone like that and they threaten you with consequences and you don't go, "Oh shit, my life is in danger. He's going to escalate and try to kill me one day," because threatening physical harm for slights, that's a normal thing. Because those two women in that story normalized something that is very much not normal. To me, that says there's gotta be a subsect of people out there that, I guess from conditioning from childhood, just accept that and don't see it as a threat to themselves or something that they need to leave the relationship for. Regardless, I'm glad you got out of there, OP, because this just went from bad to incredibly worse, like much worse than it should have been. As always, thank you for the story, and I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Our next post is by user ThrowRA-Cheating02, and it's titled, "My husband got a blowjob from a stripper at his brother's bachelor party. He broke my heart so much. We've been married since 2016 and together since 2013. I'm pregnant. He knew I was pregnant when he cheated. I hired a divorce lawyer today. I never thought I would be here. I will owe spousal support for a time, but I would rather pay than stay with him. I can't stay with him after this. I cried for 2 hours after I saw the lawyer." Bruh XDU says, "The amount of stories about cheating during bachelor's and bachelorette parties is wild. Why don't people just stop doing dumb shit like this? What even is the appeal of strippers at these things? At my bachelor party, my best man planned out a whole day of whiskey tasting, paintballing, and basically gluttony. The best bachelor party I went to involved laser tag, bowling, cigars, too much pizza, and a lot of alcohol. I don't know why anyone would ever hire a stripper for something like this." Salty Danger Hands says, "I'm sorry you find yourself here, but I do want to commend you in your self-respect and dignity with which you're conducting yourself here. You're going to have a child. You are setting a wonderful example for them from the start. This sucks, but you have reason to be proud of yourself here. Yes, this. Taking care of yourself is always worth it. You are your own #1 priority here in this situation. Best of luck." I couldn't agree more with that. It's just really gross that people want blowjobs and sexual favors at a bachelor party or a bachelorette party. Like, cool, let me just trust all of these people for me to cheat with some random that could or could not have any number of diseases and screw up my relationship. This is such a good example and such a good time to screw up my relationship. I am very smart. Honestly, OP, if your husband is the type to do that at a bachelor party, he's probably not the type that should be married to you. And as unfortunate as it is to be having a kid with him like that, it is fortunate that he makes an ass of himself and gives you a reason to divorce him and go find someone that isn't a monstrous piece of shit. And now, onto the updates. Background from my original post. My husband got a blowjob from a stripper during his brother's bachelor party. I found out a few days later because he sent me a text about it that was meant for his brother. My husband left work early to come home and delete it from my phone, but I had already seen it. He played it off and told me nothing happened. A few days later, his brother got married, and after the reception, my husband told me what he had done with the stripper. The day after the wedding, he said he was making up nonsense because he had too much to drink at the reception. Several days after the wedding, he came to me in tears and confessed that it was all true and he did get oral sex from the stripper. He tried to blame it on being drunk, but he later admitted that he didn't drink as much as he pretended to and wasn't really drunk at either the bachelor party or the reception. The best man had apparently kept the groom away from any shenanigans with the strippers. The best man did not drink anything since he was the designated driver. The other men at the bachelor party, besides the groom, the best man, and my husband, were single, so they were not cheating with how they acted with the strippers. I was pregnant when this happened. I hired a divorce lawyer after my husband confessed. Our divorce was finalized 11 months ago. My ex-husband and I alternate weeks with our son. He's 19 months old now. There was a lot of discussion in the comments of my original post about divorce law and my ex-husband being at fault. However, in my state, divorce is purely no fault, and the court does not consider fault in the division of assets. Those are divided 50-50. I was ordered to pay alimony since I earn twice what my husband does. I have 7 more months of alimony payments to make. I'm an actuary, and my ex-husband is a carpet installer, and the law was clear on how alimony works. My ex-husband did not have overnight visits with our son until I stopped breastfeeding, and leading up to our son's first birthday, we slowly transitioned to overnight visits. Once we worked up to alternating weeks with our son, I began to pay child support. I do admit that although my ex-husband was a terrible husband, he is a good father. We are co-parenting amicably, and we don't bring up the past. I don't regret getting the divorce. I wanted to post an update to thank everyone since I received so much support in my last post, and there were too many comments to reply to individually. Dear Parsnip 6802 says, he blew up his whole family for a blowjob. I hope it was worth it for him. What a loser. UCSD Phoenix says, it's wild how a moment of weakness can ruin everything. Total lack of respect. Harlequin Madness says, I don't understand people that say he was a horrible husband but is a good father. No, he's not. If he were a good father, he wouldn't have cheated and blown up the family. A good father wouldn't jeopardize their child's security and home for an effing blowjob. Sissy Jones says, hoped that was the best blowjob of his effing life. Cost him his marriage of almost 10 years and the chance to be a full-time parent to his child. Dark Ella 30 says, he gets a monthly alimony super check for years. OP's being really cool and amicable. He doesn't have to parent full-time, he's single and ready to mingle. Maybe that's hard on him, but it seems like he's got a really soft landing. She said she only had 7 more months of alimony to pay. I'm assuming they weren't married long. Onion Man says, that stripper should be advertising, head so good you'll get divorced. Bet it's not the first time. It probably wasn't even all that good. It's gonna keep him up at night for decades, and not for being mind-blowing. Yeah, it's not for being mind-blowing, that's for sure. Although, it could have been mind-blowing in the moment, but it was definitely not worth tanking that relationship, that's for sure. And going back to what Harlequin Madness says, with the he was a horrible husband but a good father, it's kind of giving the same energy as, oh, we have a perfect relationship except for this one thing. Though I get what OP meant by saying that, you don't want to continue to shit on him after he's already paid the price, yes. But his reputation is forever going to have that stain. I don't think he can completely be a good father, because a good father wouldn't do that. But yeah, maybe he's just an okay person. And there's nothing wrong with being an okay person. It's not a good father though, that's for sure. Anyway, I'm rambling. Thank you for the story, OP. I very much appreciated that one. I hope all continues to go well for you into the future. I really hope this doesn't happen to you again. And thank you for giving people a framework as to what they should do if their husband ever gets a blowjob from a stripper and texts them the evidence of that. I'd love to know what you guys think of this one down below in the comments. Let me know. Would I be the asshole for refusing to raise my husband's affair children now that he and the woman he cheated with passed away? My 45 female husband of 23 years had an affair with a 20-year-old girl since 2020. I found out this year when his affair partner gave birth to twin boys in March. Obviously, we were going to divorce. We've been hashing things out since. It's been a lengthy process due to some properties in common, and we needed to get an accountant since he used the shared account for his affair. Finally, things seemed to be getting close to the end when both my husband and the woman he cheated with were killed in a car crash. By some miracle, the twin babies were not harmed in the crash. Now they are orphaned, and neither set of grandparents can take them in permanently. My husband's parents are both in assisted living, he has no siblings, and the only aunt that could take them refuses. She's been child-free her whole life. On the woman's side, I'm not sure the details in full, but her parents are also not able to be involved long-term, and the one sister she has lives overseas. Since we were still married and he had not updated his will, all his assets are set to pass to me and our 2 children. I'm not callous enough to leave those babies with nothing, so I agreed to let whoever is the legal guardian have the remaining balance in the shared account, about $25,000 in savings. The issue is that no one wants to take them in. Now my in-laws are pressuring me to take them in and raise them. But the issue is, I don't want to. At all. I wouldn't love them, and I don't want to be the evil stepmother. But I know a big part of me will always have a level of resentment towards them. I will probably favor my own children. It's not their fault, but I truly loved my husband, and I thought we were happy before I found out about the affair. We have 2 daughters, 14 and 16. Obviously, we had disagreements, but never insulted each other's before. Then I found out about the affair, and he began calling me names and blaming me for his cheating. He became abusive and even tried to kick me out of the house, my childhood home that is not shared property for the record. I'm also raising teenagers alone now. I don't have the energy to raise babies anymore. My daughters hate their baby brothers. I tried to get them to spend time with their dad as we were divorcing, but they refused. Since this all was found out because of the babies, there really wasn't a way to sugarcoat the situation, and they are also too old to really get away with it. Most of my friends agree that it's not my place to care for those children, but my in-laws, the affair woman's parents, and my mother want me to raise them. I know my mom is just having grandkids fever, but it hurts to not have her support. I have to make a decision by next week, or the boys will be going into foster care. At the moment, they are temporarily placed with their maternal grandparents. I feel horrible, but I am very sure that I can't take them in. Would I be the asshole if I refused to take them in? Small update. Hey everyone, this blew up far more than I thought, and I appreciate the well wishes for my girls, the boys, and myself. Also for the amount of lovely people offering to see about giving the twins a good home. I might not be their mother, but it does touch me and makes me glad that there is good people out there. After thinking carefully and speaking to my lawyer, reading responses, doing research, etc., I plan to speak to the grandparents tomorrow and refuse to take legal guardianship of the boys. I will let them know of the usernames of people that offered meeting for private adoptions or fostering, but my daughters are my priority. It will be up to the twins' grandparents to decide if they will proceed with adoption, keep them, or turn them to the state. I wish I had the mental capacity to be the person to do this, but I have 2 girls that are going through a lot and they need my full attention. I'll also be talking to the lawyers to figure out if the boys have any inheritance claim properly. If they do, I'll separate it and leave it to the lawyers to do what they need to do for them to have access when it's best. If they don't, I'll find a way to ensure they have access to the $25,000 that I was going to give them since the beginning. I won't do more, however. My moral compass might be biased, but I don't believe that I'm obligated neither morally nor legally to do more than what the word of law says. I can't help everyone, and I shouldn't have to. I have 2 girls that lost their father, 2 girls that need therapy, 2 girls just about to get to college. They've gone through enough without seeing their mother favor the children of their father's mistress. Second update. Hey everyone. So as I said 2 nights ago, I went yesterday to speak to the twins' grandparents. I explained my position and refused to take guardianship of the boys. My mother-in-law almost slapped me when I said that, but thankfully this was all done in a public place and my father-in-law stopped her. The maternal grandparents kept pleading for me to raise them since they didn't want to lose them. I kept saying no, and when they called me selfish, I lost it. I told them to their face the only selfish people in this mess were them and their son and daughter. Their son, my husband, for cheating and then making the divorce hell on me and my girls. Their daughter because she was a whore. I used another word, that went after a married man twice her age. I told them that if I heard from them again, I would request a cease and desist. I also informed my parents-in-law that they won't have access to my daughters for the foreseeable future. I'll explain why in a bit. We were at a restaurant, but I didn't stay for the meal. I also sent an email to my lawyer so he can ensure CPS and any agency involved in the welfare of the twins is aware that I'm not going to be their guardian or be involved. Then I sent an email to my in-laws with all the usernames and websites from people here in Reddit that have offered to do interviews for the twins' adoption. I won't be involved beyond this point, so please, as lovely as it is, I can't help you if you're interested in the boys. Yesterday was the end of my involvement. As for why my in-laws won't see my girls, I spoke to my daughters and decided to find out more about their thoughts before I went to meet their grandparents. My youngest refused to speak to me, which I found very out of place for her. My eldest then asked for just the 2 of us to speak. And that's when she explained that my in-laws have been going on about how the girls need to get ready to go to public school instead of their private school, and to get jobs right out of high school, since I will have to provide the twins with private schooling and college money. Apparently, they were also told to start moving their stuff to share a room. My girls have separate rooms, since the twins need more space. This was not known to me, mostly because that would never happen. Apparently my in-laws have been basically bullying the girls because the babies take priority. Yeah, that's not happening. I told the girls that their grandparents have no say in where they go to school, their college funds, or how the rooms are set in our house. Also that I do agree they could use a part-time job during college and maybe a scholarship, but their tuition will be paid. I told them not to blame the babies for the stupidity of the adults. They told me they understand, but they still don't want to interact with their brothers for now. That "for now" part gives me hope that they'll get through things. For now, we're going to do some changes in the house. The girls and I both don't like that there's still an office space that my husband used. We're going to make it into a gaming room for all of us. I plan to take down some pictures that have my husband in them and put them in albums for the girls. We just want to make the house more ours. As for the people wondering why my girls wanted nothing to do with their father, my daughters were the ones that discovered the affair and told me when my husband took them to meet the twins at the hospital. He had asked them to keep it secret, but my girls told me. After that, my husband began treating them horribly too. He burnt all the bridges with the girls. Very tiny update since there's some people who keep harassing me in PMs. I spoke to a lawyer on Monday. The boys have no inheritance claim until a DNA test is done. After that, their only claim is against my in-laws. The shared account is not considered my husband's individual property, so it is mine. Same with the lake house. Since he had a personal savings account and a life insurance, which went to his parents, that will be the only things the boys could claim. Obviously, this can be changed if it goes to trial, but the lawyer told me with how little my husband left my girls and I, there is very little chance that a judge will demand our assets. The lawyer also recommended me to completely end the idea of sharing any money with the boys. That could be used against me to claim that I'm taking fiscal responsibility for them and should be considered to be their guardian. I'm dividing the money from the shared account for my daughter's college tuitions. I'm still unsure if I'll sell the lake house or not, but neither the girls nor I are attached to it. Now please leave me alone about the boys' inheritance. Sad as it is, my husband messed everything up for his children. I'm not responsible for them, nor do I have to sacrifice my assets to set them up for a better life. Another update. There's some good news and some annoying news. The good news is the boys were safely retrieved by the CPS from their maternal grandparents and will be placed in foster care until a permanent arrangement is made. I found out when it happened since their grandparents and my mother came to scream at me at work. In all honesty, I'm glad this happened at work and not at home. It made me consider moving, since I don't want my daughters exposed to any of this. An annoyance I had very soon after was getting called about my inquiries into fostering and adopting. Apparently, my information was sent to CPS as someone interested in fostering the twins and eventually adopting. I immediately explained the situation between the grandparents and me, and the operator was speechless at first. She apologized for the situation and told me that she would make sure that I wasn't bothered about the process. I also got served this morning. My in-laws are suing for grandparents' rights. They are also suing for custody. Apparently, they are planning on leaving their assisted living, which they really shouldn't, to buy a house that allows kids to get the twins back, and now also want custody of my daughters. My personal lawyer immediately gave me some instructions I won't share to safeguard myself and my daughters from some risks during a possible custody battle. My lawyer and I both suspect that my in-laws want the girls to be parentified by them as caretakers for the twins, since my in-laws have mobility limitations. It will be a cold day in hell before that happens. I don't see CPS placing the boys with them to begin with. Not all is bad news. I'm starting therapy next week, and my eldest daughter is once again speaking about the colleges that she wants to go to. We still haven't really talked about their father or have them agree to visit his grave. I myself haven't gone there, and I'm trying really hard to get used to not calling him my husband anymore. I had nothing to do with the funeral plans, aside from paying bills, and from what I heard his parents had the epitaph, "Devoted and beloved husband, father and son" written on it. I find it a joke. I know it's bad to hold so much anger and resentment, but as soon as I have time, I plan to change his tombstone to remove husband and father. It might sound petty, but I refuse to speak well of a cheater and abuser just because he's dead. My daughters deserved better, and so did I. And for anyone complaining about me changing the tombstone, I paid for everything at the end, so stick your complaints you know where. I don't think I'll post another update until the whole mess with the grandparents' rights lawsuit is resolved, so to the kind people that have sent support to me and my daughters, thank you so much. I'll have good news in the future, but for now, I'm going back to my old Reddit account. Small disclaimer, to the person that PM'd me that I'll regret not adopting the twins, I don't regret it one bit. Please either post a public message or leave me alone. I don't deal with cowards that use PMs to avoid being judged. And now on to the update. Hey everyone, some people have been asking me for updates, and to be sincere, I had nothing until today. To start things, cousins from my ex-husband's side of the family took the boys in. I know them, they are lovely, and I know that they'll give the twins a great life. The parents, I'm calling them Matt and Kim, talked to my daughters and let them know that if they ever want to reach out to their half-brothers, they'll just have to call. Otherwise, they can just see them as distant cousins. My girls thanked them, but insisted they don't really want a sibling relationship at this time, but that maybe as cousins it'll be okay. I did offer them money from the shared account since they are family, and they said not to worry since they don't need it. Kim even insisted that I use that money for a vacation for my girls and I. Apparently I look like the living dead. They also set very strict lines with my in-laws and the parents of my ex's affair partner. They can see the boys, but they won't be seen as grandparents. This caused a big fight with the affair partner's parents, and Matt and Kim then cut them off. Again, threats of suing for grandparents' rights were thrown around, but it went nowhere. That's how I found out why the affair partner's parents couldn't take the boys permanently. The father is a convicted felon in an abuse case. I won't share the details out of respect, but if what Matt and Kim told me is true, I'm glad the boys won't grow up with that man as an example. The only reason his wife had temporary guardianship was because of the sudden death of the parents and the process to find a relative to raise the boys. She would have had to live away from her husband to allow permanent custody, and she wasn't willing to do so. My ex-in-laws did figure that the threats were not going to work, so they agreed to be great uncles instead. Good for them, I guess. They now want me to let them live with me and the girls since they left assisted living recently, and now the place they were in doesn't have an opening. This place has a long wait list, and the only reason they got in originally was because my ex and I offered to pay 5 years in full. They still had 2 full years paid left, and I was going to pay for them. After everything they put my daughters and me through, though, I would rather burn money in a grill than to spend it on them. I know that they want my girls and I to be their caretakers. I won't even consider it. My daughters have their own paths to follow, and in all honesty, I want to consider meeting someone new. I know it sounds like I'm moving on too quick, but I've been working to move on since I found out about the affair. I don't think my ex deserves me to go through a mourning period. I already mourned our relationship. At least that's what my eldest daughter said, funny enough. She's been encouraging me to go out and meet someone. We still have that custody lawsuit from my ex-in-laws going on, and a few other issues that I'll update when I have more. But I wanted to at least let everyone know that the boys are safe and together. Scorvia says, the grandparents made their bed, and it's time for them to go to bed. With all the harm they tried to do to you, now they want you to take care of them? They are crazy. Maroon Grad says, you and your daughters sound actually really well adjusted. I'm glad the boys landed in a safe place and can still have some sort of friendly family relationship with their half-sisters. I think this is beyond my best expectations for this event, and I am happy for everyone. Especially for the soon-to-be homeless / not in as nice a home ones. OP says, they should be well enough monetarily to afford a new place, so they'll be fine. They might be horrid, but if they were going to go homeless, I would put the money to at least get them a relatively comfortable facility. It's really up to them what they do now though. Maroon Grad replies, and best of all, it's 100% no longer your circus or monkeys. Anytime you think about helping them out or spending money on them, take the cash you'd have spent on them and invest it into saving for your kids. And OP says, that's really the plan. My brother and I are talking about some plans for investment, so we'll see how it goes. If it goes well, my girls might have a good start to adult life. Lizzie Oates says, quote, if they were going to go homeless, I would put the money to at least give them a relatively comfortable facility. Honestly, I'd rethink this stance. You tried to ensure they weren't homeless before, and they still tried to make sure they would be homeless in order to get you to take them in. They seem like the type that's completely willing to shoot themselves in the foot repeatedly if it means a chance at manipulating you. And OP says, if they had not received my ex's personal savings and life insurance, I would feel obligated. But they received a lot of money from him, enough to live comfortable if they don't squander it. Now, if they do squander it, it's on them. Again, the hypothetical scenario would be if they were without means from the get-go. Honestly, I think that's a very good series of updates for that one, and I feel like it's just going to fizzle out from here. OP did everything right. They got their lawyers onto this. They protected the girls every single time. Anything that threatened the girls came up, she protected her girls. Congratulations, OP, for having a spine, for sticking up for your children. That's more than we can say for some of these stories that come here. And I'm glad that you're not repeating abuse cycles and you are not allowing other people to walk all over you. That's something that we need more of in this world. And I'm glad that you are leading the way in showing us how to properly deal with situations like this. Listen to your lawyers, folks. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I very much appreciated that one, and I very much enjoyed it. But I turn this to you guys now. What did you think of this story? Let me know down in the comments below.